Hey, yo, buddies. It's the Ron and Fez Show. 866-RON-0-FEZ. 866-RON-0-FEZ. We are back to start the new year. This is the first year of 2015. And I'd also like to say this. This is the first day of the rest of your lunch. So remember that, folks.
I like that we're coming back on a Friday.
Yeah.
This is one day in, a nice weekend. Just, reset. It feels good.
It does feel good to have this reset done. Fez Watley is telling me that he's going off to the doctor again after the thing, after the show today, because I guess it was during the 3-day thing. Grandma took a spill.
Yeah, took a fall in the apartment.
He stepped on his sweatpants and fell on his TV clicker.
Damn the comfortable clothing.
We got to get him a young boy to follow him around.
Or he has to start wearing capri pants for comfort.
Yeah. I'll tell you, by the time everybody gets to that age of elderly and fragile, Fez is already going to be a veteran of that. He'll be able to teach everybody their ways around.
Don't wear sweatpants.
What I do is I don't wear my sweatpants anymore. I just sit around in my underwears. It's a young, energetic show. It's the Ron and Fez Show. 866-RON-0-FEZ. 866-RON-0-FEZ. Bring the music down, would you? All right, thanks. Yesterday was a historical day for the NFL as Tom Brady was led to the Sharks, and they just bit and attacked at him while he sat there in his tiny little toque, acting like that everything was fine.
All right, first of all, why did they put the hats with the puffs on them? Who put that on his head as he went out there?
He's a child. He had just gotten off his bike.
At least cut it off. The puff is for small children. The puff is not for an adult.
He has lived in a bubble for a long time. He still thinks he's 12. He's the same age as that he started playing football.
Totally ridiculous looking.
All right, so first of all, the Patriots to throw him out there and make it a press conference instead of him just reading a statement and leaving is absolutely stupid. He didn't know how to do a press conference. He was given too short of an answer and then go into the next person. You gotta politically stay on point with this, right? Like a guy running for president.
It was a ridiculous clusterfuck watching this thing. It was crazy just what was going on between the reporters and Brady like smirking and just
Brady doesn't think it's a big deal still. His line that made everybody mad, this isn't ISIS, no one's dead, is absolutely true, and yet to those people out there it's more important than ISIS. All right, let's go to Jerry Barca, who understands the ways of the NFL. Jerry, what did you think of the press conference yesterday?
I think the whole thing is ridiculous theater. And I like the hat. I think it's cute because Tom Brady is a cute man, so the hat works. The ISIS thing, I think the media is just waiting to make something out of nothing. The comment about ISIS, which is true, nobody did die. This is just football. The ISIS thing was made in what he tells the people, in his life, because they asked him how he was responding in his own life, how did he feel pressure because of this or something like that. But, some people out there, some of these talking heads jumped on it like, oh, he's got to bring ISIS into it. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. I think Brady was great. I think, what's he going to say? But he's just got to say balls 55 times or something.
Yeah, here's the deal with this, and it's really hard to believe with the way ESPN is acting and the way that the media was acting yesterday. Look at this situation and take a step back. The Indianapolis Colts are not upset. They haven't gone to the league. You know what I mean? Yeah. The league hasn't come to Tom Brady. The other teams are not upset. No one is upset about this until you get to the print, internet, and television media. So nobody has complained. When he said, no, the league hasn't come to me, it makes you wonder, so where is the story? Normally, if you're following a story, you would be like, there is a complaint that the league has. There is a complaint that the Colts have. Is this going to affect the Super Bowl? The only people affecting the Super Bowl right now is the media.
Absolutely. This story led all 3 national nightly newscasts last night.
Where they should be following ISIS. These are the people that should be they should be saying, wait, this isn't ISIS.
Well, it's like we solved poverty. I mean, the Vice President of the United States is on TV after the State of the Union, and he gets asked about this, and of course, Goofball says something like, well, I like softballs. I was a wide receiver. Something like that, and the media loves that. It's like
you're a wide receiver in Hawaii, dude. You're playing just pickup ball with your friends.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's true. That is true. But it's ridiculous how much. I think what sports fans need permission to it's okay not to pay attention to this story. It's actually okay.
Well, here's what gets to me though. It's not just the professional journalists, but even the ex-ball players are going fucking crazy. Mark Brunell, I don't know what the hell he was doing yesterday. Why was he in tears?
Because he never won a Super Bowl.
He has a ring as a backup.
All right, you got a clip there of him?
Yeah.
This is Mark Brunell immediately after the Tom Brady incident.
Say, those balls were deflated. Somebody had to do it. And I don't believe there's an equipment manager in the NFL that would, on his own initiative, deflate a ball without the starting quarterback's approval. I just didn't believe what Tom Brady had to say. You seem pretty emotional about this.
So he's really in tears.
If this is genuine, then his brain is concussed into thinking that things are more that fake things are real.
One of the things that happened, at least in the stuff that I was watching, these guys were sure that Brady was going to come out, take the blame, say that he was sorry and ashamed. And when he didn't, they were all shocked and freaked out. The bus was the same way. And, I mean, there's always guys trying to get away with too long of cleats, blah, blah, blah. Normally, I think you get fined by the league, don't you, Jerry?
Yeah, the league comes in and fines you, and the league's fine for something like this is $25,000, and I mean, what did they expect Brady to do? To come say, hey, you know what, I'm going to sit out the Super Bowl because I want to satisfy everybody's opinion. That's what I'll do. I'm just going to sit out the Super Bowl. I mean, it's ridiculous. The reaction to this is just straight up ridiculous. And yes, the league steps in, and yes, everybody, I don't want to say doctors' balls, but they manipulate the footballs before the game to their liking. It happens everywhere. That's why when I was with the Lions in 1999 was the first year they had these kicking balls that are as hard as a rock because guys would put them in the dryer,
right,
the punters and kickers to gain an advantage. Everywhere you look in the sport, in the NFL, and I'm sure every other sport, teams are looking for a competitive advantage, and you have to police that advantage if you really want to stop it. And seriously, a $25,000 fine, what is that to the Patriots organization?
If it was $1 million fine, what is it to the organization? But does this have a bigger effect on the game than guys holding each other on every play, pushing off, guys under the pile, scratching and thumbing each other in the face? I mean, obviously, you do whatever you can to get ahead, and when caught, you get penalized. But I don't understand why we are equating this. I just want to get back and watch the fucking game. I don't think if you're a Seattle fan, you want to see Tom Brady off the field. You want to beat Tom Brady and the Patriots and have a back-to-back fucking Super Bowl victories over the two best quarterbacks of their generation. That will put Seattle up there with the greatest teams of all time. If they launch Brady out of this, there's an asterisk next to your Super Bowl win. You don't want that. You want to fucking play the game and whip his ass.
Seattle doesn't want it. The players don't want that. They want to beat fucking Brady.
Yeah.
Everyone wants Brady to play, except the media for some reason.
The media has gotten crazy about this, Jerry. I don't know what goes on with you people.
Well, part of it is when you're the king for so long, and they're so flippant and glib with the media, probably as an organization, that you kind of, the media does chomp at the bit. That when there's a
all right,
fall,
so then if we're looking for honesty, ESPN could say, I'm jealous, I'm not playing anymore, I hate these young guys, they make more money than I did, and there would be the honesty that everybody's looking for.
That ain't gonna happen, though. We know that.
Why is the media demanding such crazy respect and fucking honor from these guys when they're just fabricating crazy shit? It's really skewed to obscene.
I think Jerry put it best when he says it's theater. This is something to talk about for that low week before the game. You know what I mean? This is something to talk about before we get up to the game, but it's fucking poisoning the excitement of having the two best teams in football playing each other.
Of this era, too. I mean, I would have loved to have seen the Packers in the Super Bowl personally, but this is the best matchup. We couldn't have had a better matchup going into this.
Oh, I get it. Everybody would like their team to be there, but since we all have to sit back, and none of us here have a hometown rooting interest in either one of these teams, but we're all football fans, and we could say, this looks like a really great matchup. This is like a great heavyweight fight where you can be happy and excited about it. Here's Fred in Nebraska. Fred.
It's Fred. And I just need to say that the New England Patriots are fucking scums.
Wow.
And a disgrace to the league if they had to cheat in order to win.
Yeah, no one has actually said that they had to cheat in order to win. No one has brought that up. No one from the Colts is stupid enough to say we would have won that ball if they didn't let that game if we didn't let a little bit of air out of the ball. Hunter in Maine. Go ahead, Hunter.
Hey, yeah, that's a good point. I think it was 45-7. He could have been throwing a fucking brick. But I've seen this before. It's false outrage. It's like the time that Sirius fired a radio host without a complaint.
I brought that up yesterday on the air. It became the exact same story, which is about the story chasing the story, but no one was actually outraged, and no one feels overly satisfied today that it happened. As a matter of fact, other than us that were affected by that, whether it was our shows or our friendship with Anthony, still even thinks about it. All the people who followed that story around, they've moved on to the next stupid fucking story. It's this weird thing of, oh, did you see my story went viral? I went fucking viral. Oh, it's so exciting when you go viral.
I got hits.
Yeah, I got hits. And my Twitter's jumped up, or whatever the fuck you're supposed to say. I don't know.
Did you check out all the favorites I just got?
Here's Mercy in New York. Go ahead, buddy.
Hello, Ron.
Hey.
I just would like to mention that I, as a lifelong Buffalo Bills fan, even through the Jim Kelly years, I'm 37 years old, I even can recognize the quality of football that the New England Patriots are. If you pay attention to what goes on behind the line of scrimmage, you can see that they are actually more like a 2019 team. And they're kind of ahead of the curve. So if, say, it was a Carolina that had this issue with the deflated balls, there might be an issue. But here I see it kind of bubbling all the way to the top, and a couple suits may lose their jobs. But
I don't see this at all. I don't see anyone paying attention to it but the media. When Brady said no one from the NFL has even contacted me.
That should be it.
First of all, he should... that fucking part of it was the funniest of all. You're the only people talking about this. If you think anyone would be upset, it would be the NFL. But what do they want? A fucking Super Bowl without Brady? Without Belichick? That would be nuts.
No, they want a week of all this publicity, because the other thing is it pulls in people that would normally not be, that are not interested in the strategy of the game, that are not interested in, wow, look at these great football teams. They're not interested in the football aspect of it. They are interested in the soap opera. And you've got, your villainous coach and a good leading man, and, Russell Wilson's off the hook for a little bit for his odd God comments from earlier in the week. So now you're good. Now you get more buy-in, more viewers, more money.
Right, because you got, women who only watch one game a year, and they're either going to say, I hate those Patriots, or the bad guys, or I feel sorry for the little boy with the sissy hat. You know what I mean? Like, so they have something to pay attention to. You take a guy who watches one game a year, a Fez Watley, and now this gives you something to connect with, Fez, when you don't really know all the teams.
I know the teams, I just haven't watched football.
I know you've been watching. I know it.
Don't you lie to us.
That's bigger than the Brady thing to me. I know you've been watching week after week. I know it.
This is Watchgate. This is what we're about to crack open.
Here's Sabrina in New Jersey. Hey, Sabrina.
Hi, Ron. How are you?
Hey, sweetie.
I understand that it probably, most definitely, would not have affected the outcome of the game. But at the same time, if Olympians are caught cheating, they take their medals away. Lance Armstrong, performance enhancement, they take his titles away. I kind of think it's the same thing.
Well, first of all, you're talking about a league that really doesn't have big testing on the performance-enhancing drugs. They seem to be against marijuana, but you don't hear a lot of fucking things that come up. And they basically cheat on every play. That's why we have flags, right? We throw a flag. You are correct where you're saying it appears that something took place. And as Jerry pointed out, that would be a $25,000 fine.
Yeah,
we're not taking away medals.
It's very, the punishment is much more substantial.
Why?
I don't know. It seems
There's
like
penalties on just about every play. This appears to be another penalty.
I don't know. I kind of disagree.
But Jerry has already told you there's a precedent for what this would be. They have a thing every week where guys are wearing cleats that they have to take off or whatever it happens to be. And that's what this is.
Yeah, I see your point. I just think that if it's something that it's sort of a form of Brady's performance enhancement.
It isn't. It really is not. It's, to most of us, I don't think we could feel the difference in the balls.
You know what? If the PSI thing, it was 7% of the actual ball. There's no way we could fucking tell if it was slightly. We
couldn't. But that's what I don't get, because if the guy who caught the ball, he's the one that said that it felt a little soft to him. Brady, who has his hands on the ball more than anybody.
But do you realize that they hold on every play? They smack each other on every play.
There's late hits constantly that get fucking looked over.
But there are penalties for all these things that we're talking about. And what Jerry is saying, here's what the penalty would be. A fine. So fine them. But it had nothing to do with that game. It really doesn't. If you catch somebody doing something wrong, you penalize them. But this thing of somehow he's brought shame to the nation, and what are the children supposed to think?
That was crazy.
I'll tell you what the children are supposed to think.
Yeah, no, that's a little crazy.
Here's what the children should think. Oh, that's a violent game out there. No wonder my mom won't let me play.
I am with you on that. My husband would kill me for saying that, but I'm with you on that.
There was, when we all played it as kids, right? There was this kid in Hook, and he was a really good athlete in every sport. And his mom wouldn't let him play football. And the place even wanted to over to his mom. And this is like 11 years old, and the coach tried to talk to her, explain that we could get extra padding in the helmet and all that. And his mom was like, no. And everybody teased him like he's a pussy and a mama's boy and all. This woman was decades ahead of her time.
She was on top of it.
Yeah.
The reporter that said, "What do you want to say to the Tom Brady fans out there and the kids who look up to you?" I just fucking started laughing.
He should have just said sup.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be great?
Sup.
What's up, little man?
Hey, we're going to the Super Bowl again. Tell them that. Jesus.
Joey, you're on the Run of Fez show.
Hi, Ron.
Hey.
The biggest problem I have with this is NFL films, fans, and media have made out the Raiders of the 70s and 80s out to be this mythological team. And what is it? They had two rules. One, cheating is encouraged. Rule 2, D rule number 1. They played with illegal pads. They pammed their jerseys so they couldn't get help. They did everything in the book, Al Davis and John Madden, to win.
Look, here's the thing. Mean Joe Green is this beloved person, and I went back and watched either the 30 for 30 or whatever the doc was on him, and he was in a fist fight every single play that they showed. I mean, it was a violent game then in a different way than it's a violent game now. It's actually, because of the speed, probably more of a violent game in terms of head injuries, but those guys just punched the shit out of each other. I said this earlier this year. I think the real cheating that goes on with the Patriots and Tom Brady is that he doesn't take the full fucking money that he's due. Because he has a rich wife, he's able to take less money and bump that team up more.
Yeah.
And no one else brings that up. I think the league should step in and say, no, you have to take the fucking maximum, you prick.
Everyone else is taking it. There's 31 other fucking teams.
It's fucking cheating.
What happened to the Bears? They paid fucking Cutler fucking $100 million.
They might as well just throw that money in the furnace.
Fox will turn them around.
Jerry, we live in a crazy fucking world, and it's just going to get crazier.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We're at the point where almost everyone has a TV show, podcast, or radio show now, no matter who they are in the United States.
I think that's a good idea. I think everybody should have their own podcast. I do.
Do you have a podcast?
I do.
Why haven't you ever plugged it?
It's just something I'm doing kind of on the sly.
Who are you doing it with?
I do it myself. I interview people about, a few times a month, about half hour. We talk sports, usually journalists in the sports world talking about stuff, that kind of a thing.
What's your podcast?
The Jerry Barca Podcast.
The Jerry Barca Podcast.
Oh, yeah. Got a special guest that Ron and Fez fans will probably enjoy hearing. It's kind of next week. It'll be a Joni Loves Chachi kind of, parallel to Ron and Fez.
All right, so it's a spin-off from the Ron and Fez show.
That's right.
Are you going to be talking to Chris Pepper Stanley?
No.
Damn it.
Hard Rock Johnny.
That's my guy,
Oh, my God.
Jesus Christ.
Here's the funny thing about this podcast. Whenever you two guys are talking in the hall, I walk by you. I don't even bother stopping and listening. Why would you have him a guest and not me? I'm pissed about this.
Hey, I don't think I could. I don't have the courage to ask you to come on the Jerry Barca Podcast.
No one ever asked me on their podcast. That's all I want to do. I want to be on Anthony's podcast. I want to do Big J's. I want to do the Comedy Sellers, but they never call. Chris would never tells me about it.
I'll get on that. But
I'm gonna go through your people and I'm gonna make the request. I'm gonna make the request now. I'm gonna see if it happens.
Hard Rock. No, I can't do that show now. Not after Hard Rock Johnny.
I think he's going to have good views. Here's a guy who's helped host a Super Bowl last year there in Times Square. He eats the hot dog at Yankee Stadium on opening day each week. Or each year.
God.
Each week, every week, opening day. Yankee
Stadium. You're going to get on me right now for making a little mistake there. Come on.
Can I just tell you something, Jerry? Your listener is going to love this.
My mom? You think?
Yeah.
Think it?
I love the show today, Jerry.
Who's this Hard Rock?
This Hard Rock slowed it down.
You know him?
Let's get over here to Jay. Jay, you're on the Run and Fez show.
Ronnie B, BAC 2113.
Oh, that's old school, dude.
Hoo-ah!
Hey, I think it's great that everybody makes Belichick out to be this big villain, and I think they forget that Pete Carroll left college under some suspicious circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry would know more about this, but every program seems like it runs into some kind of trouble sooner or later, right?
Yeah, but Pete Carroll won national championships and had, Reggie Bush getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, and left like, hey, the shit was going to hit the fan, and he was out of there, with the writing on the wall. As soon as he could, he was the first rat off the boat in that one. And I like Carroll's leadership style, but
hold on. 2 years ago, you promised us that he would be exposed as a college football coach and would be out of the NFL. Now he's going for his second back-to-back championship.
Well, I think that's where success in the NFL and sometimes likability as a person might separate. And if we're saying that I was wrong, absolutely. I was absolutely wrong about his ability to succeed in the NFL.
I mean, that was more than wrong.
With, by the way, a quarterback who doesn't seem like, on paper, would be a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
He was the backup, like when Carroll came there.
But even now, even with his numbers, even with his style of play, you would still think, like if you were just looking at the quarterbacks, I think that you would say this is not going to be close.
Oh, yeah. The numbers wise, I mean, yeah, and plus just that last game. Russell Wilson is less than compared to Tom Brady.
It should be, but that's, if you ask Russell Wilson, that's just God, man. He's just setting it up to be dramatic.
Are you another one of those people mocking him because he believes in the Lord?
I think that there were some things that went on Sunday and Monday this week that are highly questionable. I think, look, I'm big on God. I believe in it, but I don't think I got to force that out there on everybody. And I think it gets a little weird with athletes sometimes. And that's some of the problems Russell Wilson had in his own locker room this year are that sort of thing. People don't necessarily buy it all the time. The guy threw 4 interceptions. He gets asked at his locker after the game what were his thoughts on that, and he says it was God setting it up to be dramatic. Come on, that's crazy. I mean, I guess that's faith and stuff like that, but I don't buy it, and I don't think that's the route to go. And then Monday, the tweet that the Seahawks had to pull down, putting Martin Luther King's words next to this silhouetted picture of Russell Wilson crying. Again, just like the deflate stuff, this is just football, guys. It is. We love it. It's entertaining. It's terrific. But it is just football. There are other things that happen in the world and life.
You would not know that if you went by the television time and viewership. If you were to go by this is more important than anything else that we do. It's the number one most watched show of the year by far, and always is. If something would to beat the Super Bowl this year, I think we'd all be shocked. We would be like, okay. It'd have to be a dirty bomb.
Or aliens landing, right? Like an alien set up a fucking proof of alien life. That would be the fucking thing.
So you think it would take aliens to beat the Super Bowl?
And they just choose one fucking network.
Even if, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to beat them on the same day as the Super Bowl. Because I wouldn't turn off the game. I'd be like, I'll get to the aliens later.
I mean, this is close right now.
Because I don't have money on aliens.
Somebody at ABC that doesn't have the NFL is like, we got to get aliens. We got to get aliens to compete with the Super Bowl this year. Oh, my God. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Now, Fez has claimed that he's not going to watch the Super Bowl this year. He and I have always watched the games together since we've known each other. And then he says, I'm coming to your house. I'll wear a blindfold during the game and then pull the blindfold up so I can watch the fun commercials. And I had to say to him, A, I don't care whether you watch the game or not. I haven't set this up for you. This is you versus you. And B, no one is sitting there in my home with a blindfold on, distracting... You know what I mean? Distracting the attention away from the game.
Who's the guy with the blindfold?
I can't live like that.
And you still be able to hear it.
Here's Rick in Tennessee. Rick.
Hey, Ron. I kind of agree with that lady that was called in a while ago. I mean, it really is. Everybody's saying it's just football, and they should be just penalized or fined. But truthfully, like in NASCAR, if somebody leaves the pit early or something like that, or they wreck someone, they do penalize them and they fine them. But if they alter that car in any way and they prove that, then they disqualify them from that race, whether they want or not. So this is kind of
First of all, it's a totally different sport. It's a totally different sport where, let's face it, in NASCAR, nobody, if you don't win this week, you can win next week. And I don't know, whatever reason, your biggest race of the year is the first race and not the last race. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different sport. Just like I told you before with, when you watch football and people are hurt, the game goes on. But in boxing, they would always say, hey, we're pushing it back because somebody has strained a shoulder or had something in their eye, so we're postponing this. They don't do that in football. It's a different sport. Jerry is laid out for us, and this, Jerry follows this a lot more closely, that there are penalties to be paid for this, but it's not the kind of penalty that you want. I understand that a lot of people like to see the best people be accused of cheating and to be taken away from the game. You know what I mean? To be told, like, our honor is more important than this and that and the other thing. But the NFL hasn't even investigated this yet. This is just reporters talking to reporters.
And the competitive balance, when people compare this to performance-enhancing drugs, the competitive balance of a deflated football, and they're not playing with a Nerf ball or something out there. We're talking about slight deflations there. Yes, it's against the rules, and there's a policy set up for that, but it's not the stark contrast of performance-enhancing drugs from Lance Armstrong, where the balance of competition is so far, skewed, and that's where it is. Now, maybe the NFL changes that in the future. I have no idea, but Patriots are playing, the risk-reward they can with a $25,000 fine.
The only reason why they would change the rules is because of this media hysteria, not because it's changed the game so much. Again, if we were to hear from the Colts coach, general manager, owner, saying, look, they have robbed our organization and our players of a chance of a championship, I'd be wide open to hearing that. But they're not doing that.
They've actually come out and said
shouting this shit, and ex-ball players who have one chance of making big money again in their life, and that's being on TV shows yelling about shit.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why I like Adam Shine's show, the CBS show, is because you don't have tons of ex-ball players yelling shit out and doing really bad play-by-play, which I can't even stand when they let those fucking jocks sit back at halftime and tell you what just happened.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking terrible.
It's nonsense. It's just you just have to turn it off because it's just shit. Nothing is being said.
It's
cliche city. It's crazy.
But
talk.
forget even the cliches. It's guys confused about what, like, we're going to get to this today. He's going to get up and on it. And then the other guys are screaming and laughing, and you're like, what the fuck am I watching? I just want to see what's going on with the ball game.
Oh, former football players.
Maybe we ought to take the jackets off. Maybe we ought to take the jacket. Then everyone yells, taking off the jacket. It's jacket off time. Like, what are you fucking saying? I'd rather sit there and listen to a podcast with Jerry and Hard Rock Johnny on the Jerry Barker Show, going through this game point by point and bringing up the Giants every second fucking they can.
If Eli was in this,
how would Eli Manning handle this?
Hey, bartender, what's up?
Hey, what's up, boys? Yeah. Ronnie, Pepper Hamburger. Hey, I want to ask Jerry a question about when LeGarrette Blount, in the middle of the year, left the Steelers, just walked off the field. I think Belichick tampered with him. I don't know. It's my theory. They were hurting their running backs, and all of a sudden he comes in. He's a starter. He's getting all the touches. Don't you think Belichick gave him a text message and said, hey, we got a spot for you up here if you don't want to sit behind Bell?
But he'd have to be caught doing that,
and that's insane. Look, once Blunt was out, Le'Veon Bell went on a crazy tear. It was ridiculous after Blunt was gone.
Do you think Belichick is capable of that?
I think Belichick eats children. Look, I have no problem. If you want to sit around and run down Belichick and Brady and the Pats, I'm all for it. But if you want to bring those guys out of the fucking Super Bowl, you're nuts. You're insane. You're the people tampering with the game, media. You're tampering with the game. I brought this up before when I was a little kid fantasizing about baseball. Every fucking home run I hit in my mind was against the Yankees. I never sat around and dreamt about fucking ripping one off the Padres. Who gives a shit? You want to beat the best. Seattle is in the perfect fucking position to become legends. They win this fucking game and they sit around next to the Steelers and the 72 Dolphins and the Montana fucking 49ers forever. Because that's what they'll be fucking beating.
Peyton.
That's it.
And Brady. Fucking crazy.
Everyone forgets about the fucking, teams that get over on somebody that doesn't matter. You get a chance to beat Peyton and Brady back to back. Russell Wilson doesn't buy another fucking drink for the rest of his life wherever he goes. People are asking him about this. That's who you want to beat. And if you lose to him, hey, you lost to fucking Brady. What am I going to do?
Happens.
The guy won 4. Matt, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Yeah, hey, Ron, I was going to say, if Fez really hasn't been watching football, then I don't think he'd have a problem calling his cable company on the air and having them pull the plug on all the sports channels, would he?
Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to stop someone from enjoying the game? I don't understand.
Make him do it, Ron.
I don't understand, A, why he did it in the first place, and B, why we want him to not watch the game.
I'm getting Time Warner's customer service fucking number right now.
Oh, good luck with that.
And second question, when is the Sam Roberts interview with the wrestling coming in?
Oh, God. Matt, apparently you don't like Fezzy. Fez hasn't spoken a word today, I guess because you're all pumped up about Mike Lawrence later. And talking wrestling and dropping this stupid Super Bowl thing and getting into...
real shit.
What are we doing here, Fez? King of the Ring? Is that it? Is this
it's SummerSlam, right?
Is this SummerSlam? Is this Starrcade? Is it another big fucking Starrcade?
War Games?
Here's somebody to talk to about football, and that's Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Hey, how you doing there, cousins?
Hey, what do you say, Stone Cold? Have you been following this?
Yeah, a little bit up in it. Let me tell you something. The bottom line is, if the refs didn't see it, it didn't happen. If they found the balls running and played it during the game, they'd have called the DQ and rang the bell. That's it. It's over. Brady's going to the Super Bowl. And that's the bottom line. If Stone Cold said so, Fezzy, give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh, God.
I prefer what?
Oscar, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, hello?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Great opening.
Right, so, I'm sorry. I honestly think that the only reason that this whole deflate thing is picking up so much steam is because basically you don't hear any Seahawks fans or any Patriots fans complaining about this whole thing. It's just everybody that didn't make it into the Super Bowl is retweeting the story and making a big deal out of it. And the bottom line is there's really no underdog, so there's really no other story for the media to be, trying to hype up. So this is all they got right now. This is not a big deal. This is nothing like, like a PED scandal or like the whole Nolan Ryan issue, like it's coming out to be. It's not a big deal. Anybody who honestly knows sports knows that this, or knows football at least, knows that this isn't a big deal. This is just butthurt, non-Seahawks and non-Patriots fans.
Look,
that's all I got.
Let's face it. Nothing big happened here. It's not like Brady came out as gay. That would have been... God. I mean, that would have destroyed the game.
His fans.
And we wouldn't have known what to say to the children.
That would have been the best news ever.
What if Brady would have said, look, it's not like I'm gay or dating a black girl. I let a little air out of a football. Is that Barker laughing like that?
No, I'm wondering whose laugh that is. That is not Barker's laugh.
That could only be one laugh like that, and that's our own Janice from Chicago.
I'm sorry. Hi.
Hey, sweetie.
I was cracking up. And also, they won 45-7.
Yeah, I know.
Holy shit.
But, let's look at these two teams. Does anyone really think they deserve to be there more than these two teams? I mean, I guess the Ravens and Packers could bitch a little bit, like, oh, we should have been there.
Packers can't. The fucking Ravens, maybe. But the Packers can't after they
because they shit it too bad?
Yeah, it was just too many fuck-ups.
And in the Ravens, you don't fucking panic and throw the long ball at the end of the game. You take your time and fucking move the ball down there like you were before, and I think they would be there.
If San Diego wins their final game of the regular season, though, the Ravens aren't even in the playoffs.
All right, good point. Yeah, you could always say somebody,
So, then it's just that. These are only two guys. Fuck. No one should be able to say anything.
Well, I mean, I think if the Eagles would have gotten Brady years ago.
He came in off the bench.
It's insane to worry
I
about
always
this.
that I used to yell at the kids who came off the bench. This is how Brady started.
I know, he's a bench guy.
Became Drew. Can I tell you my car wash adventure?
Yeah, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to break this up.
I still drive Mike's giant van. It's a 4500 or something like that. It was big enough that we could put a motorcycle inside it.
Right.
So it sits really high, and I go to get the van wash, and they give me change in silver dollars. So it shoots out and then falls to the ground. So I'm trying to squeeze my tits and ass out of the door to pick up these silver dollars, and I get stuck. The attendant had to stop everybody.
In the car wash?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I'm dangling there. Help, 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 help.
See, this is why I don't believe that everybody should have a gun, or she'd have grabbed it and shot herself in the head before she got help.
The van looks great, though. It's funny, too, when we first got it, our first trip to Florida, because it's usually used commercially, it's got a governor on it, so when we hit 100, it would shut down the engine. And when Mike got back, he calls Chevy, and he's like, hey, it's shut down at 100. The guy goes, if you want to go 100, buy a vet.
That's hysterical. I never heard of anybody going 100 in a van.
No, it was impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Jerry Barkey doesn't go 100 if you put 4 trips together.
Never. It's too dangerous.
He's actually even got like a child's seat in his driver's seat because he thinks that it's extra safe there.
And I'm diminutive.
Who you watch the big game with? The Super Bowl.
Who, me?
Both you guys. Do you watch alone? Do you go to big parties? What do you do?
No, now I'll be by myself.
How about you, Jerry?
Can't watch it around people. And if people come over, they can go in a room where they can watch it and cackle and blah, and I'll watch it in a quiet place.
They have other people there.
It is really disturbing when you hear someone say something like, well, these two colors don't even go together, these two teams. That's the kind of shit that comes up. Or, is he supposed to be good? Yeah, that guy right there is supposed to be good.
He's great.
All right.
How about the kill him or get him? Kill him.
Get him.
Kill him.
So, does your wife watch with you, Jerry?
Yes. And she is into Deflategate. Probably knows more about it than me.
Is she angry with Brady?
No, because she said, you know what makes it funny? Is that he's so cute up there.
He never looked younger than he did yesterday. He looked 11 years old.
It's an insane hat.
He should have rode in on a big bike, on a big, like, Pee-wee bike. Came in on a banana seat and a sissy bar.
Ring the bell. I'm here.
He still, and he's wearing his Patriot stuff as if he's a little kid who got tickets to go to the game. How about this? You're 37 years old.
He's not allowed to own any other clothes.
Put on a fucking jacket. You're going to be on TV.
Buttons, maybe?
You're sitting there in front of a Dunkin' Donuts sign wearing Patriots sweatshirts and toques.
I like how that looks on it. I think I'll get one of those too. Let me go to fucking Patriots.com. Like, what the fuck? It's crazy to put him in this gear.
Did you see when he pulled up in his car?
No.
He was too close to the wall, right? He tried to get out, and his tits and ass got stuck in the car. All right, guys. Thanks so much, Jerry Barca.
Thanks for having me.
Janice, thanks so much. Jerry, you finished that book yet?
Not yet.
And you're not telling anybody what it's about?
Not yet.
Is it about
Soon.
Deflategate?
I'm getting started on that one's next. That one's definitely next.
Is it about Notre Dame and their history?
No. Deflategate, 20 pages. Going to do 20-page ebook only.
Why don't you write a book on Joe Theismann, the greatest of all time, as you call him?
Greatest at something. All right, guys. Thanks.
Talk to you later.
Later.
Damn, I want to get his take on the Pro Bowl. Over 77.5. Shit,
When is that, this week?
It's this weekend, yeah, Sunday. Team Carter is favored by 2.
All right, this is the first year I'm going to watch the Pro Bowl. You know why?
Why is that?
It's on the same time as the wrestling. And I'm just going to turn it off on Fez.
Good.
All right, let's take a break here. When we get back, Mike Lawrence is going to be with us, Chris?
Just
on his way?
He's on his way, yes.
All right. We'll be right back. It's the Ron and Fez Show. Yo, buddies, it's the Ron and Fez Show. 866-RON-0-FEZ. 866-RON-0-FEZ. Anna wants to hop on with us for a second. How you doing, Anna?
Hi, cousin buddies.
Hey, cousin buddy.
So, Ronnie, I just wanted to call to let you know, anytime anybody from Ron and Fez Show comes the D.C. way, my husband and I love to come and support. So we were there for the D.C. show, and then we got to see Big J last night. And I tell you what, he is ridiculous. He's so cool.
Well, he is, not only cool, but absolutely hysterical. One of the best people working rooms in the country right now. And I don't know if I've ever had an opportunity to sit down with Jay when he's not funny, even when he's in a bad mood or he's sad. If he starts to tell you his problems, you have to bite your lip because he's not trying to be funny, but he is.
Yeah, he's got a really amazing way. He's so smart, the way he works the crowd, and his timing is great. We got to talk to him afterwards, and like you said, he's even like that when you are just having a regular conversation with him. He kills you. You want more.
Yeah. Well, thank you for going out and seeing him. I'm glad you did that.
So happy to support.
By the way, Ari Shafir's show starts soon, Fuzzy. Is it tonight? Last night it was on? Okay, so it hit last night. I've got it taped, but Big J is going to be doing that as well. I know Duncan Trussell has done the opening stuff, and we've got to get him on the show. 866-RON-0-FEZ, 866-RON-0-FEZ. It is the Ron and Fez Show, and we're waiting for Mike Lawrence to stop by because Fez wants to talk a little wrestling today. And Mike loves the wrestling, and he loves the comic books, and he enjoys the comic book movies.
Yeah.
And he likes the Space Star movies and the Magic the Gathering, the movie.
Sure, yeah.
And he likes the
D&D.
Yeah, he likes Dungeons and Dragons or fighting Iron Man and the Avengers.
Babylon 5.
And that's all. It's all happening, one after another.
It's nonstop.
This is the greatest time in the universe if you decide I just like technology, but every day after that will even be better. I watched the stuff for the they just did out in Vegas, the Consumer Electronics Show, and there is shit coming in a couple of years that seems life-changing to me Then I just see the guy from Google, the CEO, says, the internet as we know it will be gone in the future because you will be interacting with machines and computers in every room that you walk through, no matter what you are doing for the rest of your life, and you won't even be aware that that's a big thing. Like your jacket will be able to bring the lighting down. You'll be able to turn to your right and say to the wall, check outside to make sure the security is good, and the wall will do what you want it to do. I'm listening to this guy talk, and instead of it sounding exciting, it sounded like this is almost too much. I don't know if I want to just keep learning how to interact with machines for the rest of my life.
That's how it's going. Learning like new, like you could say, operating systems.
But I swear to God, I'm so happy, that I had the chance to live in a world before machines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm so glad that I was in the fucking rain at a rock show in the pit in the mud in my life, because I think those kind of things are going to go away.
Well, it seems like things are becoming sterilized, because I know like Google, like they've been trying to build a smart house, like your fucking smartphone, which is exactly what you were talking about.
The smart house is going to be built one at a time. One piece at a time, where you're basically interacting with your refrigerator and your stove rather than cooking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm getting older, right? Because
you are.
Because I am, but kids, like the interns that start now, they've always had the internet, and I remember when there wasn't an internet. I remember when I wasn't on the computer every day. It's fucking strange.
It is strange, but at the same time, you can't fight it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't fight this because it's going to be more comfortable, and that's what we always shoot towards. You know what I mean? Like, quite frankly, it is pretty great to sleep out under the stars in a sleeping bag, right?
Yeah.
But how many people still do that even once a year? And it's fucking great, but it's not as comfortable as laying in a bed. Laying in a bed beats laying on the ground. So we lie in beds. And then when they have some floating device where your fucking computer floor is just going to hold you up by a beam, you'll do that instead.
Got great posture.
You're going to adapt the thing. One of the things was you're going to look at your screen and see what's in your refrigerator, so you don't have to open up your refrigerator and change the temperature in there. And I go, well, that's probably a smart idea. It'll keep your food longer and stuff. But at the same time, I never once in my life opened up a refrigerator going, isn't there a better way to do this? Isn't there some other way to check to see if I have eggs? The fucking refrigerator, right, when it sees you're low, is going to contact the supermarket and have food delivered.
All right, that's fucking weird.
You think that's weird, but if you would have told me 20 years ago, oh, you're not going to get a check from work, the computer will get it and send it to the bank and send out bills for you, I'd be like, no way. Daddy needs the cash money sitting in his hand. It would have seemed insane. And yet we do it. We've adapted to it. And now if someone handed you a check, you're like, oh, where am I supposed to take this? To the physical bank?
Check cashing places?
And then how did they get it into my account? Is that going to happen right? Because if they handed me a check now, my bills would probably get paid late by the time I got over there. The car is going to drive you around. The refrigerator is going to order food for you. The shower is going to decide what the temperature is and when you've been on there long enough.
And they have also the smart toilet. They'll tell you how healthy you are by.
That one is actually really interesting because you take a piss and it can start to detect when you have the first cancer cells, which is way easier chance to deal with cancer than when you found out it's gone from your pancreas to your whatever.
And you're racked with tumors.
Yeah. So yeah, that's smarter. Your toothbrush is going to be smart. Everything is going to be smart. And it's going to be smarter with you. Bruce, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Yeah, Pep was talking about kids nowadays have always had the internet. Well, I noticed my kids weren't watching, TV as much, so I just cut the direct TV off because I don't watch it, They didn't even notice for 2 months.
Because they're just watching things online.
Online and on screens, and it was 2 months, and then they finally said, hey, we couldn't find Nickelodeon today or whatever. And I was like, well, what are you looking for, whatever show? And it was a show that wasn't on Netflix, and that's how they called it.
Can you imagine how terrifying it must be to be a network right now?
You should be
and
shitting
hear
yourself
something like that?
Between Netflix and all the street and Hulu, whatever, and now YouTube, which gets more hits from the young demographic or whatever than anybody. It's just crazy the amount of the YouTube stars who are just guys commenting on shit. And women giving makeup tips. Everyone at NBC and Fox should be just horrified.
But you're saying they're commenting on stuff and giving makeup tips. How is that different than most fucking TV networks? Most TV networks aren't shows. If you go to Fox, MSNBC, they don't go out and find the news. They comment on the news. They're not... when you used to watch Walter Cronkite, he had a bunch of people that would go out, get the news, report back, and that's how these guys are just commenting on the news. ESPN, it's commenting all day long. So if you're a kid, the thought of waiting, like I brought up to you guys, and it's already out online, about Ari Shafir's thing. You guys didn't even know, and it's already on the internet. You guys didn't even know that it ran last night, and you're on the Comedy Channel, where it should be, the business. But I had already watched it this morning online, and that's the way people get things nowadays. And Comedy Central understands it, because that's who I watched it with them.
Yeah.
They put it out, and I'm like, yeah, of course.
Comedy Central Direct. That's how
but they actually have it out on other sites. It's all over the place that, you link back off to them. Even Black Mirror, if you go, oh, their shit went on YouTube, somebody stole it. No, that company put it on YouTube. Here's Paul. Paul, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, Ronnie, it's Paul. I'm a salesman. I don't have 3 radio shows, so I have to go out and sell. But when I started selling, it was binders and payphones, and now and it's gone from that through Blackberries and through beepers and paying $1 a minute for cell phones to what we have today. And it's it's almost like when my father was growing up, from going from horse and wagon to seeing his first car and seeing an airplane for the first time.
I think it's going to be even more mind-blowing. This whole thing of wherever you go, you could just say something and a screen will pop up and give it to you, and you're never disconnected from anyone at any time. There can't be a thing where, let's say Fez doesn't want to deal with work for a couple hours, and he could say, oh, I'm sorry, I was at this place or that. Like, Fez goes home and turns off his cell phone, right?
Yeah.
And you have to call him on his landline. That is going to be a fireable offense to a whole generation of people. I wanted you, and you weren't there at that moment. You apparently don't want this job. That's how the next generation is going to be treated. There will be no off work, and this is my free time, because it's going to be kind of both. If you, and Paul, I'm sure in sales, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you go out to dinner with clients, yes, you're drinking, you're out to dinner, but you're at work, That's how everyone's job's going to be.
I wake up in the middle of the night, and I pick up my iPhone just to see what time it is, and if there's an email there, I'll respond at 3:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon watching football, I'm responding. The greatest thing in the world, though, is I'm driving down Route 95 in Connecticut. I'm listening to you guys. I said, oh, I got something to say. Press the Ron and Fez speed dial. I'm talking to you.
Right.
How the hell did that happen? But, we had a rotary phone back home. You have to keep on dialing to win tickets to to a Grateful Dead concert. Here, I said, oh, let me talk to some guy on a national radio show.
Yeah, and then, when I get home, like people are upset, and I'm not even kidding about this, if a star doesn't answer them on Twitter. Like, they expect, in my mind, to think that I would even talk to or think of, what is Jack Nicholson or Mick Jagger doing now? That wouldn't have even dawned on me. Now people are like, who's a dick? This guy, because he doesn't even, Bieber doesn't even fucking respond.
He doesn't retweet any of his people.
Yeah, it's really, and you're like, what? Bill in California, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
What's going on, Ronnie B? Hey, eventually, everything we have in everybody's house is a screen. We all have televisions, right?
Yeah.
So eventually, that's not going to be part of a space in your house. So we'll just have like a contact lens or a chip in our head, and we'll say, hey, let's watch TV together. And you don't have to look at the screen. You just look at it inside your contact lens. And it just puts you in that...
I want to be dead before that happens. I want to be dead before I can shut my eyes and be in a movie. I don't want to be there. Liz That's Fire sent us that thing that there's some service now that you can all watch a movie together wherever you are in the country and comment on it together.
Yeah.
That's insane to me.
As things are progressing technologically, we're just not going to have physical interactions anymore. Like going to the store. Your fridge is going to have someone deliver the food to you. You don't have to go to the supermarket and interact with people there. You just everything is just going to be delivered.
Well, when I was a kid, I left my home and went to Florida to get away from my past and my surroundings and start anew, right?
Yeah.
That is done. Because if you have a friend who says, okay, I'm leaving New York and I'm going to go to Chicago, you don't talk to them any less than you would have before.
Yeah.
And you can see each other on your phone. So there isn't any of that. Remember, like, somebody be like, okay, I'm moving to California, you'll be hugging them at the airport.
Yeah.
Why? Why would you do that now when you can be talking to them while they're on the phone? You know what I mean? Like, they'll be on the plane going, well, we're heading down the runway. You know what I mean? Like, you see that. They showed that with the U.S. soccer team. They all get on and they're going to Brazil, right? But they're all on the phones while the plane is taking off and shit. Talking with their loved ones. They haven't left them, really. You're never leaving anyone.
Follow my Instagram, comment on my shit. Like, you can see exactly what everyone's doing all the time.
The place down the street, if you try to order lunch with cash or even a debit card now, they look at you like, oh, you don't want to use the app to pay where I hold the phone up to the cash register screen?
Debit card? Scott, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Yeah, what Fez just said happened to me last night, actually. I went to go pick up a pizza, and I pulled out cash, and they looked at me. It took 3 people to handle it. Like, they had to pull out a cash box, and they, got with those, roll of quarters to pay me the change. It was, ridiculous. They expected me to use the card.
Everybody wants a card. There's a little bagel place near me, right? Mm-hmm. That sometimes I'll go to, on a Sunday morning when you just wake up, and you're like, I don't want... There's all the hipster age guys that are still fresh out of college within 5 years because they're wearing their pajamas to pick up coffee and a bagel. These guys will have $7 is what it'll, it's mainly singles getting a coffee and a bagel. $7. And they all use cards.
Yeah.
Every one of them uses cards.
And cards are getting old. It will just be your phone app.
I still believe in a bankroll. You know what I mean? I still believe in hundreds on the outside. For all you know, these are all fucking hundreds.
See how fat that is?
Yeah. Mark, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Ron.
Yeah.
Long distance. How are you?
Good, buddy.
Long distance phone call, Ron.
I'm on long distance. My dad would yell that at us. This is a long distance call, and everybody had to fucking freeze and not talk. It's so true. That used to be the biggest thing, and now You know,
Long distance,
every
everybody
call
be quick.
is the same. Every call is the same.
Yeah, I remember like collect calls in my house would be big. Like my dad would call collect, and my mom like, "Well, you're calling collect. What are you doing?"
Well, that means you're in trouble. But you would always use the fake thing. It means there was always a thing like you could call home and the operator would say to your mom, yes, you've got a collect call from Ron, I made it. Ron, I made it. And my mom would say, no, we won't accept that call. And then you'd go off and have your nice weekend. Your mom always wanted to know you got the Wildwood. Andrew, in Chicago, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, Ronnie B, how you doing?
What's up?
Hey, I'm just praying that a solar flare knocks out all this shit before this world actually happens to where you actually use your finger to pay for shit. I'll hang up and listen. Hi, Pepper.
You know, the thing is, none of us would be able to make it in that world.
I'd freak out. I'd start fires immediately.
Well, I was going to give out the spoiler alert for Transcendence, but I guess no one really cares about it either way. But if you had to pick a world, if you had to vote on a world where we were run by machines and a world where everything is dark and we go back living like primitive men, I don't know which way the vote would go. I think let the machines run us. We'll probably go with most of these.
It wouldn't be close.
People.
It wouldn't be close.
It wouldn't even be close, huh?
No.
Here's J-Bone. J-Bone, you're on the run. Yeah.
Hey, quick one. Me and my buddies went away. The one buddy got a house, and he sent out an email to everyone. I will only accept payment through this app. And it was no cash, no check. You can only pay me through this app for some reason.
That's weird.
But I really wanted to get, speaking of long-distance friends that you never see again, I need a Paulo update. Feels like it's been forever.
Yeah, I think the last time we talked to him, it was just about the Oscars and nothing else. So, yeah, we'll check in with him. I think the SAG Awards are pretty soon, right?
I believe they're coming up. I'm not sure when.
Mike, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Yeah, hey, I remember back in the 80s, I was working on the Carnival for a few years, and I can remember meeting chicks on the road, and we'd be writing letters back and forth, like it was your sweetheart back home from the war, you know. And, and the mail would have to go out from the road back to the head office and then get shipped by mail. So mail days, when the mail would come into the road, you know, you have all the guys on the Midway would be hanging out at the office waiting to get letters from different chicks that they met in different towns, right? You look back now and it seems so quaint and
well, first of all, in so many ways, it was fantastic because she couldn't keep up with you. You know, you in a letter, you were really a great dude. You know what I mean? She doesn't know who you were. Now she'd be able to check somebody else. Some other chick is on your Facebook, blah, blah, blah. You would not be able to live in the way that carnies and comics and rock guys always lived of, let me tell you this story, let me tell you this story, and have everybody happy with that. Everybody got to live in that peaceful place of, he's away for 6 months, but he really cares. They wouldn't be able to see all the dog-ass shit that you're doing. You kind of protected their feelings. Mike Lawrence is here right now, Fezzy.
Mike Lawrence, he's going to be opening for John Oliver this Saturday. That's the 24th at Foxwoods. Go to foxwoods.com for tickets and more information. Mike's also going to be at the Warehouse Live in Houston. That's this Sunday, January 25th. Warehouselive.com for tickets and more information.
Mike Lawrence, great to see you, pal.
Good to see you guys.
You know, we got to do this more often, but the John Oliver gig, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. He is. He took that gig because I was worried like once a week, but everybody's going mad for him, man. Everyone's mad for him.
I think it's brilliant. You mean his show?
Yeah, his show.
It's the best political show on TV.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like when you do it every day, you have to cover stuff you don't care about. And it's like just doing it a week, he gets to do exactly what he wants with these like 15-minute pieces.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. And I thought, oh, okay, you step away from the machine, the Comedy Central machine where they know how to do it. That could be a problem. But yeah, it's just been fantastic for him, man.
Yeah, HBO, I mean, it's like their whole thing is people only buy this because it's good.
Right.
So they get to make the exact stuff that they want.
Well, we were actually just, and I know that you love all geek culture and stuff.
Yeah.
We were just talking about how people expect things on so many platforms right now to come out. Ari Shaffir's show kind of gets introduced to the internet as the same time that it's going out there. It's really, really changing times and the way things are done.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just our job as comedians, you know, we have to work 24 hours a day now.
Yeah.
If I'm not funny on Twitter and Facebook and, you know, and all these different platforms, if I don't have a web series that I'm thinking about and all that, it's like I'm dead in the water. And, you know, it's like I did a roast recently, and a guy's roast joke about me was his Wikipedia page has a podcast section. I'm like, yeah, because I'm relevant.
It's really, really true.
Yeah.
But, you know, I talked about this when I had a comedy club in the 80s. To make money in Florida, you needed to put up a sign that said comedy.
Yeah.
And people would just go, oh, there's comedy? Comedy has come here. It's just not on TV.
Where was your club?
I had a club in Clearwater, but we would open up small clubs weekends. Like they were almost like pop-ups where you go into another restaurant, do it a couple nights. But if you put up comedy in a place like Lakeland, Florida, you could pack out the first night based on that.
Did my mom ever work your club?
I don't think so.
Alice Stein and then Alice Colin.
She was in South Florida, right?
Yeah, but she traveled.
Yeah. No, I don't think we ever had her in.
Yeah.
Did she ever work for the Coconuts?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, Bob was a buddy of mine, so she probably came through that thing up that way. But you're second generation comedy, which is fairly rare, right?
I'm the Randy Orton of comedy, except some people like me, I think. I don't poop in people's bags.
This is a big wrestling weekend for you, I guess. Huh?
I think the only other time I did this show is like right before Mania, and now it's like right before the Rumble. I like the theme we have going.
Well, we do have that because Fez. This is the time that Fez really can just throw it all out there without any of the listeners turning
can
on
you guys
him.
book me the next time for Battleground, like right before Battleground? I just want to. I mean, the Rumbles. I've never been to a Mania, but I've been to 2 Rumbles.
Yeah. I think it's one of the funner nights.
Oh yeah,
it's the best night. It's better than WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, there's always some comedy in the middle of it. You know what I mean? Like, there's always somebody. To me, the funniest thing in the world is someone who runs hard, dives in, and gets chucked right out after. That could keep me laughing for days.
What's amazing, too, is that you could watch a Rumble from any year because it's like 30 guys in an hour, and you know every exact thing about that time period. You're like, oh, yeah, this was the Mantor area. That's my favorite thing about Rumbles is there's always like 5 guys that are only in that Rumble and then are never in another Rumble.
Right.
Like one of the great was Carlos Colon came out. He's like this big Puerto Rican star, and Gorilla Monsoon. He's like 45. Gorilla Monsoon's like, look at this anxious youngster.
So Monsoon he was.
Yeah, like the cuts on his forehead have suns. That's how old he is. I love it. Yeah, I went to the 2 in Miami, 1991 and 2006, and they're 2 of the worst Rumble.
Just awful.
Yeah.
Have you ever been, Fez?
Yeah, we went to.
Me too?
Yeah, you were there. It was. I don't remember what year.
I had a lot of bad years there for a while.
But it.
You could give me 3 facts and I'll be able to tell you.
Okay. It got down to British Bulldog and Shawn Michaels. Everyone thought Shawn Michaels was eliminated, but he kind of did the skin the cat move back into the ring.
That narrows it down to 95 and 96.
That's why I can't remember.
Believe that it's 95. But I'm sure if I'm wrong, I'm already being told on Twitter.
And so who ended up winning, Sean?
Sean ended up winning. Everyone thought the Bulldog had taken it.
That was an amazing one because that was when like WWF was like at its worst decline. So you had like the worst wrestlers in there. That was when like Sparky Plug, Bob Holly. That was when like Mantor was there and stuff.
You didn't have like a Hulk Hogan anymore.
Yeah.
And Shawn, I don't think had become Shawn Michaels.
He was starting
world champion yet.
So this is a 20-year anniversary for you.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Of that wonderful night.
Of Rumble night.
Now, the difference now, I think, doesn't everyone know who's going to win? Isn't everyone know who's getting the push?
No.
No?
I think it's down to two people.
I thought it was everyone, all the internet people tell me it's one guy.
Here's the thing. Now, because of the internet, we just think we know more. But like it used to be, you'd be like, well, I think the Undertaker's going to win because he has mystical powers.
Right.
And no one can stop the magic of the glowing urn. But now we're like, well, because they're actually pushing him, but he's got better T-shirt sales. Like we overthink things.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns.
Right.
Nobody wants Roman Reigns. If you know The Simpsons, he's the Poochie of wrestling right now.
Right.
They're just pushing him so hard, and it's not working.
Well, I think because he looks good, and if you remember, the same thing happened with The Rock. When The Rock came in, he looked at it, everybody's like, why are you pushing this guy? Because he's second generation, you know, it's the same, it's weird to me. But, you know, my nephew is 10, loves wrestling, like when you were 10, and what is great to me when he calls is that he has zero cynicism about any of it.
Oh, wow.
He was like, the authority is gone. And he's like, he's saying was, we just saw the most historic night in wrestling, and he's saying it without any trace of irony.
My advice: if you ever go to a live wrestling event, sit next to a mentally challenged child. It is the ultimate HD because you will watch it with their enthusiasm.
Right.
Like, oh, this is who this is for.
Right.
This is made for children with autism.
Yeah, right.
That was another big Shawn Michaels night on the pay-per-view where the kid with Down syndrome tried to climb in the ring. And Shawn Michaels had to throw him like over his body to protect him from the security guys.
It'd be the best if he was like, sweet chin music.
Yeah. If he would have laid him out, that would have been great.
My God!
Do they still attack people who go into the ring?
Yeah. The wrestlers often will.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That when you would see those guys turn on somebody who tries to get into a ring, you could fake. That whole fake thing goes, I don't know, because they're kind of badass in there. They don't back down from anybody.
There was like a Eddie Guerrero, Rob Van Dam ladder match from 2002, and which was an amazing match, but some guy comes in while they're on the ladder and starts like shaking the ladder, and Eddie just like kicks him in the face. But it's also, he should. I mean, at the end of the day,
absolutely, yeah.
Like, he's a heckler, you know?
Yeah, well, when a heckler steps on the stage, it changes everything, you know? Because I've known guys have gotten hurt from drunks jumping up there.
Oh, yeah. I got punched in the face once.
Did you really?
Yeah. At an open mic, which is really sad. Not even a show. There wasn't even an audience there. I got punched for nothing. There was this like hippie douche, and he was like near this window, and I kept making fun of him because he was like, he yelled out at first. So like the minute you yell, it's like you lose all your freedoms. You know, that's it. I get to go after you. And I said stuff like, you know, you think you're Woodstock 69, but you're Woodstock 99 and stuff like that. And I hope your girlfriend left you at Little Fair. And this is stupid, you know. And he comes and he like goes to shake my hand and pulls me in and just knocks me out. And the funny thing is, all I remember is all of the other open mic comedians just scurrying like rats, dealing with their fears of confrontation. And the bartender going, oh yeah, he just comes in and does that sometimes.
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
Fez, let's plug away as we jump back into this.
Mike Lawrence, he is going to be opening for John Oliver. That's this Saturday night. That's the 24th at Foxwoods. Foxwoods.com for tickets and information. And then Sunday, Mike's going to head out to Houston, Texas on the 25th at the Warehouse Live in Houston. Warehouselive.com for tickets at the Mike Lawrence on Twitter.
Now, Mike, I see you wearing the Thor shirt, and Chris, you're saying there's some big Marvel news out there.
Yeah, Marvel Universe is they're talking about, they're having, like, it's been a few years in happening that they're going to combine all of their realities, all the universes in one universe.
This is why no one buys comic books anymore. Crap like this.
Yeah.
They do this every year. They literally every year they're like, we're gonna shake things up. The universes you've never seen before. Like, an amazing comic books. Like the highest selling comic book last year had about 100,000 in sales. And even in like the 90s, books were selling 8 million.
Sure.
I mean, that was the top, but like even the top book would sell like 1 million a month. And now it's because of this stuff. If your TV shows did this, no one would watch them. If every other episode of Breaking Bad was like, we're gonna shake things up, and it turns out that Walters actually doesn't have cancer, but is a scroll, and no one cares. No one cares anymore.
Parks and Rec is doing that on their last season. They just said, we're 4 years in advance in the future, and they put like little machines that don't exist in it. And there's part of you that feels oddly like shaken by like, what?
Yeah.
What? Because...
But that's also a comedy, and, but like with comic books, they did this one thing that really bothers me more than anything, which is they changed the numbering. So there have been 3 volumes of like Amazing Spider-Man, and every few years they reboot it. Like there was a new, the highest selling book last year was Amazing Spider-Man 1. It's like the 4th Amazing Spider-Man 1 that there is. So it doesn't mean anything.
No, that's how, and same thing happened with the baseball card industry too, where they just flooded it. And so Jack White is getting a card, Chris, so maybe you want to go out and get that one. But
I'm going to get 10 of them.
Yeah. All right, let me, before we'll get back into wrestling, George Lucas said that Disney didn't take any of his ideas for Star Wars.
That means they saw the last 3.
Now you're a Star Wars guy too?
No, I'm not, and it really hurts people's feelings. I have this joke where I say I never liked Star Wars because I saw Spaceballs first.
Right.
And Spaceballs is, Star Wars is just unfunny Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing with Star Wars... One, it's not science fiction, it's fantasy. And
Agreed.
People should never, there's no science in it at all. 2, Guardians of the Galaxy just did it, and much better, with actual jokes that work and characters you care about.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun, but most people that love Star Wars, like most people that love wrestling, it's from when they're kids, and then you just hold on to it and you don't let go.
But they expect it to, like Star Wars or wrestling, to grow at their maturity pace. You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, it would be like a girl going, I don't understand Little Red Riding Hood. It seems like it's slower than I remember and not as exciting.
You know why I didn't like the last Royal Rumble? Because my parents didn't get back together at the end of it. I now pronounce you husband and wife again.
Finally, Randy is going into the Hall of Fame, and the person in this, because Fez and I used to know Randy very well, the fact that Hulk Hogan is putting Macho Man in there.
Yeah.
We will know if Randy is absolutely dead if he doesn't show up that night. If there is any way to come back from the dead and stop something, he would do it.
Go on.
Yeah.
I talked to the Lucas brothers at Pieces on the iBang about their favorite wrestlers, and they can't believe that Hogan is the choice, that something has to be up here, that it should be Steamboat, who had the big match with them at WrestleMania 3.
Let's stop using the word choice. I mean, first off, I will only love the speech if he says, when we lost Randy, it came crashing down and it hurt inside. Like, that'll make it okay.
Yeah.
But the problem is we don't realize, like, as wrestling fans, we take it so seriously. We don't realize that this is just another show that they put on. This is just like another pay-per-view for them. Mm-hmm. They're not doing this for us. They never have done it for us. They're doing it to sell tickets, to get people in the seats, to get people to watch, to get, the USA ratings. It probably was a USA mandate.
Hogan is somewhere in the show.
Yeah, they're not making the logical choice in our mind. They're making the choice for, when you think of wrestling, you think of 2 guys. So you're inducting the one guy, you're going to have the other guy you think of inducting him. I think it's a business choice. And from that perspective, it makes sense. I mean, Hogan is the biggest pathological liar I've ever seen in my life, and he will make the speech about himself. but Lanny will probably be the one who comes up and inducts him afterwards with a beautiful poem that will.
And then throw the frisbees to the audience. That was the greatest thing ever. And I don't think Lanny ever got over.
No,
but it was always funny that he would come down and do that.
Oh, he's the Roger Clinton of wrestling.
Yeah, it was always funny. And then his dad was the sit-ups champion.
Yeah, had the world record. Angelo Poffo had the world record for sit-ups and had the number of sit-ups that he did consecutively on the back of his trunks when he wrestled.
My father did many sit-ups, but the WWF never sat up and took attention to my physical prowess.
There he is in his heyday, throwing the frisbee out to everybody. Now, whatever the number was for number one, Fez, number two was a guy who didn't bother counting. No one else thought to themselves, hey, there could be a record in this.
This picture of Lanny Poffo looks like everything Pat Patterson jerks off to.
No kidding.
He may have dressed him.
Now, Fez, you were there at the time. Did this seem even slightly gay to you?
No. It just seemed like he was more of a Poindexter.
But I mean, look at the way he's dressed.
This is crazy. My brother
mustache.
may have been the Macho Man, but I worked at the YMCA.
It's amazing. It's amazing how naive the 80s were.
It's insane. That was my favorite. Did you guys watch Legends House at all? It was when they had like all the old wrestlers.
Yeah, I watched some. I watched Pat Patterson come out.
See, that was the worst thing to me. Because everybody knows.
Yeah.
And they knew. He's like, I have this secret that I've been hiding for 40 years. I'm like, yeah, we saw your boyfriend backstage all the time. Like, but they had to act like it was a reveal.
Everyone looked shocked at the dinner table.
But here's the deal. He's kind of the Bill Cosby of wrestling, isn't he? Hasn't there been quite a few stories that if you wanted to get over or get moved along in that business?
Hey, give me one other reason Virgil was there that long. He shouldn't have been there that long. For, if Virgil had to do that to stay there, then that's the only way that makes sense to me.
Well, from when I heard about Virgil, that would have worked. Because, from what I understand, he was incredibly endowed. Like, frightening so. The other wrestlers would say yes. And they would talk about...
He had something that was worth $1 million. Yeah. Everything's got a price.
All right, go over your Lucas brothers. Let's see whether we agree or didn't agree. What did they do? They picked the best of all time?
I read this. I thought it was a good list.
It was their best of all time. Their honorable mention, I'll start from the bottom, was Owen Hart and how he should have been a champion.
Was really great.
But he fell off the list.
Yeah. It's too soon for me. Were you watching TV that night?
I was not.
I was.
It was amazing, wasn't it?
It was crazy because they just cut to just the empty ring and they announced it. And
you were trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
And then remember when The Rock, just while they were wrestling and shit, The Rock took the thing and he goes, "This is for Owen. The Rock loves you most of all," or something like that. And you're like watching at home. You still don't have. And you're like, what?
They cut to backstage to do an interview with Jeff Jarrett and Deborah McMichael. Crying. And Deborah McMichael, the makeup is just running. She's sobbing. She can't hold it together. And Jeff Jarrett's talking about whoever he's going to fight.
Right.
Well, two things about this. One, I hope that if I die right now, you guys at least take a minute to get the show going.
Well, we gotta keep it going. We got to schedule.
I mean, it's like no other sport would do that. It's the worst thing ever. The show should not have gone on. And two, the WWE Network, as far as I know, has that pay-per-view. It's Over the Edge 99. Now, they edited out, the announcement about him passing away, but they have the matches and stuff. Now, here's the gross thing about that pay-per-view. There's still blood in the ring. And
because he came down on the ring post.
And like
right?
you said, and they're cutting, I know it's awful, and they're cutting promos and they're crying and they're like visibly jarred in the ring. So if you just watch that, you're like, well, I watched the April 99 pay-per-view and the June, I need to see what bookends it. It's the weirdest thing. They shouldn't have put it on the network because who wants to watch that again? And two,
They
the show should not have gone on.
Yeah, they should have changed the name of the pay-per-view, too, if they're going to start editing things.
Yeah. It's one thing not to give your employees insurance. It's another thing to have so many of them die in their 30s from not those reasons, but to, it just shows there is no love or respect for the performers in that business. It's hard to be a wrestling fan sometimes.
Yeah, sure. They take a while. I mean, same thing happens with football or boxing where you go, am I contributing to something bad?
When the NFL is denying concussions.
Yeah.
I know we weren't in the viral age yet, but I am shocked that no piece of film of him actually falling has ever gotten leaked out.
Well, you're right. Nobody had phones like that.
People look for that. People want to see that stuff. I can never watch beheadings. I can't do it.
You would have literally have had to brought a video camera with you, and you would have been seen doing that and thrown out. Like you said, it wasn't the viral age, as we call the age that we're living in. It's the viral age.
It was the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, the viral age.
But I realized as I was talking to, I could never watch that. I could never watch beheadings. But then I think of all the times me and my friends are like, man, did you see that guy bomb? Did you see that late night set? Oh, God, look.
Sometimes that's even worse. When you say public humiliation. Yeah. All right, what else you got, Fez?
Paul Heyman makes their list.
Yeah.
He's not a wrestler, right?
Yeah, he's the best ever, though.
Yeah, not a wrestler, but as they put it, he has his fingerprints on every part of wrestling.
Rolling Stone did a great article on him. I've told this on the air before. I'm going to tell what I consider Paul Heyman's story that blew me away because I never would have thought of it. So he came in to do our show, and I think after he left or before he got there, he told us the story. He's at the diner, the Brooklyn Diner, and the Today Show woman who went on to, what's her name again?
Katie Couric.
Katie Couric is in another table, and it's just having lunch. And Heyman says to the waiter, bring me her check. He pays for it. So Katie Couric has to get up and walk over and say to him, thank you so much. Instead of him bothering her, she gets, for $25 or whatever, the biggest star in the world walks over to Heyman and says, thank you so much, and spends a minute with him.
She's the only performer we know he's paid.
This is why Mike Lawrence...
He bought her lunch with Taz's.
Taz was pissed over that. But that's taking angles all the time, man. And that's the great thing about him is
if he was a comedy booker, I'd hate his guts.
Yeah, but and yet you probably still would call him. You know what I mean? If something popped up. Because you know guys like that, that they're going to make the next thing really big. And the thing about him is he brought the carny back to that sport. And that's where it came from to begin with. You know, and it got so corporate before him. You know, it got so organized that when he brought shit back, it looked new, you know? And he's still great in there today.
I mean, he's like, his promos are better than pro wrestling. The best promo he ever did was in 2001. It was right before one of the worst storylines, the Invasion storyline. But he cut this 10-minute promo on Vince McMahon where he's like, you flaunt your affairs in front of your wife. He's like, you stole my ideas. You took my ideas and you made them attitude. And you're watching this whole thing and you think it's like the most beautiful thing. And then he like points to Taz who's in the booth and he's like, you took the most tough man on the planet, the human suplex machine, and you made him an announcer. And he makes that sound like a racial slur. And then you're watching and he's like screaming and he's crying and he talks about the promises Vince made to his dad on his deathbed. And then Taz comes in and chokes him out and he's like, you're like, pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Like the most pro wrestling thing ever was Jake the Snake, who is on that list, right?
Yep.
Jake the Snake did his Hall of Fame speech last year, which is the best Hall of Fame speech. I'd put Heenan and Jake up there as like, they make you cry, they make you laugh. They're unbelievable speeches. And he does his speech, and the minute afterwards, Jerry Lawler is on stage, and Hornswoggle, who is a leprechaun, an actual leprechaun, and El Torito, who is a little person in a bull costume, run around him, and then El Torito rams him in the balls, and he goes, like right after Jake goes, wrestling is the only woman I've never cheated on. and brings out his sick grandson. He's like, he's 1.5, and he's been diagnosed. But I tell you, Vince, he'll be the headliner at WrestleMania 50. Sick kid, nutshot,
Yeah.
wrestling.
Yeah. And making them both work. Making them both work.
Yeah.
The Rock is on their list.
Rock is, the biggest thing to ever come out of wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the crossover thing. He's the, if you go back and thought when those other guys did movies, they were like jokes. But now The Rock is a legitimate movie star.
His promos, like, you could show to people who aren't wrestling fans, and they still look cool.
Yeah. Well, when he figured out how to do the aloof guy, you know what I mean? It was perfect.
Well, they brought up something you had mentioned, how shaky he started as Rocky Maivia,
Yeah,
Prince Rocky Maivia.
It was bad.
But
And
no,
it was a
here's the-
silly costume and haircut. It was awful.
But the thing with Roman, the difference now between him and Roman Reigns is he got to recover himself, and he got to help write those promos and save himself from drowning. And now this guy's coming out. Roman Reigns' promos he literally called someone a sniveling suffering succotash, and then said, "You have donkey dung for brains."
Now they write for those guys now, right? They don't let them
It's
improvise.
purely scripted. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yep.
shame. That's why you don't have anybody that you go, oh, this guy's kind of
Different.
a genius. I mean, what Flair did, right? How weird Flair took that. We'll never have somebody do that again.
Randy Savage did a 3-minute promo about a coffee creamer.
Yeah.
And it's one of the greatest promos of all time.
Yeah.
And it's about a coffee creamer because he was coked out of his mind, had just had some coffee. But that's the thing, I mean, could you imagine comedy if someone scripted your jokes and then you had to go out and say someone else's jokes?
Yeah, it's a really tough thing to pull off. It's a really tough thing for those guys. But why won't they trust? They would always write the angles for the guys, but then let them work inside the angles.
Right. WWF used to do a Saturday morning call-in show that was live.
Yeah.
And I got to call in, be one of the callers one Saturday morning. And on hold, Triple H was still Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yeah.
And you could hear Jim Ross going over Hunter's gimmick with him, saying, all right, when they ask this question, you need to say, hey, I'm from Greenwich, Connecticut, and we don't have people like you in my neighborhood.
Were you a setup caller?
Yeah.
Did they give you your question?
Yeah, they gave me the question.
All right, so this hour show took however long, just like a TV taping,
right?
Where they would break in between. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you're saying Jim Ross was running the entire show?
Yeah, running promos. I think booking probably, and just making sure everyone had their own gimmick down.
Well, here's the difference too. Back then, you think of like most of the best promos, like Jake and Randy Savage. They were backstage and with like Mean Gene, and now they put these guys out for 10 minutes, live in front of the audience with no training, being told what to say. They're trying to memorize the whole time. It doesn't work. Like I read like last year, 49 of the 52 weeks of Raw started with 20-minute opening in-ring promos.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
No.
So, but Vince is smart, Hunter's smart. So who's making that decision?
Vince? I think he's just been doing it too long. You can only, without the world changing with you. I mean, look, you guys are on satellite radio now. You evolve, He hasn't. And in some ways he has. The network was a huge gamble that didn't work, but at least, he took that chance. But with the presentation of the product, it's looked the same for years. Even John Cena's theme is "My time is now." Your time has been 10 years. You've used that theme. When is now over? Things haven't changed.
Well, the reason that Vince changed before, because the competition was beating
He had to.
So until you have competition, why would you work hard? Why would anyone work harder? If you didn't have to, if you could go out to the club, it would be packed with people no matter what you did. You wouldn't be tweeting and thinking of jokes all day. And they're like, whatever you said was okay. You would work less hard. That's natural.
And when you look at comedy with headliners, some guys make the choice to keep working hard, and that's why they're the best, and other guys coast, and they end up being forgotten.
Yeah, it's about that mindset of what are you trying to do with your art or craft. Why do you get up in the morning? Are you trying to say something, or are you trying to make money? If it's just trying to make money, obviously, if you get a chance to hang around Vegas for a while and, party and stuff, why wouldn't you do that? But if you really set out like, I'm trying to do something, I'm trying to show something, then your whole work ethic becomes different. You have a different goal. That's all it comes down to.
And we go back to this. So Rikishi is number 8.
Mike Lawrence is in studio with us. He's going to be at Foxwoods Resort and Casino tomorrow night with John Oliver. That's foxwoods.com for tickets. Then at the Warehouse Live in Houston on Sunday, January 25th, warehouselive.com. Talking about the list that the Lucas brothers, Keith and Kenny Lucas from Lucas Brothers Moving Company on FXX, put together their favorite wrestlers. We talked about Jake the Snake, Macho Man. Kurt Angle is also on their list, saying he was the funniest wrestler of all time. That he had the most comedic promos of playing the straight man to everybody else.
Well, you can look at this list and see how old those guys were at the time.
Oh, yeah, they're Attitude Era kids.
Yeah.
I think that pound for pound, all of the skills, Kurt Angle may be the best ever. Like, in terms of talking and wrestling, how quickly he adapted to it. Like, most Olympic guys who go into wrestling are awful. They're the worst. But he, like, everything, I mean, it is so sad that he's been wasted in TNA. Like, because he could be a Hall of Fame guy. He could, I mean, but you know why they let him go, right?
Yeah.
Because he just wouldn't, like, he's insane. Like, he won't take care of himself, and they're like, you're going to die.
And I remember we talked to him about like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's basically the conversation we had with him. And then you're saying that it's still that way now. It's frightening because you've seen all these other guys.
Yeah.
And he was just always so confrontational if anyone even brought up that, he was having a problem. Yeah.
I mean, he really could pop your head off.
Well, that's that one thing that people like talk about, like where I think, things have gotten better, where they're like, back in the day we were partying and, limousines and wheeling and dealing and these millennials, like Vince, like did the whole, like the millennials and all that. And like they'd play video games. They don't care. I'm like, yeah, they play video games because they saw what the partying does.
Right.
And they don't want to die,
Yeah, it's true.
Undertaker makes their list. Although they're saying it's really time for the dead man to retire.
Yeah, I don't want to see him this year. I mean, the sad thing about that Brock match, I had no problem with him losing. I mean, the concussion was unfortunate, but the booking, like, heading into the match wasn't good. It was all just bad. Like,
it was so rushed.
Yeah, well, once they decided, like, the streak would always be the storyline, they never made, like, the Michaels matches were great and the booking was great and the stories were great, but the Triple H ones were like just forced. Like, well, remember this? Well, now this is happening. And even, like, I love Punk, but even that was like, well, here you go. It's April again. He's going to come out in the end of February. No one cares.
It's the annual sighting, like the Great Pumpkin.
Yeah. Which both are equally orange and can't move anymore.
DX is on their list. They said they hate Triple H, they hate Shawn Michaels, but they did appreciate DX. So those the original two members with China, they wanted to put on the list for bringing in the Attitude Era.
Like Billy Gunn just read this with like a single teardrop.
Yeah.
Sad ass Billy Gunn.
The New Age Outlaws are actually going to make it onto the Rumble card this Sunday.
God,
taking on the Ascension.
The end. Can someone admit that the NWO and DX are like the wild hogs of pro wrestling? No one. It doesn't. No, stop it. No, you're not rebels anymore. You weren't rebels then.
Well, they put NWO on the list too, and I wondered, are you just adding an extra 24 people to the list? Yeah. As big and as out of control as that thing got?
You know what ruined the NWO for me? The moment their entrance music played. Like, did they have an evil NWO sound engineer next to the WCW sound engineer? Look, I know these guys are ruining our company, but I mean, I know my cues.
And that was as long as the pop. As soon as that song was over, you're into boredom.
Oh, yeah.
They're 1 and 2. Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Who's 1? Who's 2?
Bret Hart is number 1 on the list. Stone Cold Steve Austin is number 2.
Now, I'm guessing you guys are most upset about the Flair snub.
I would say the Flair snub, yeah. I think Flair belongs there.
I mean, now you look at this list, that there isn't a lot of WCW talent. It's mostly WWF. Now, here's the thing. I was not a Flair kid growing up. I grew up in Florida, but I watched WWF because I loved comic books, and The Ultimate Warrior was comic books. And when I saw Flair come in 1991, he looks and sounds like the Mad Hatter from the Alice in Wonderland cartoon. A very merry birthday to you. Like, he doesn't look like a person. And he looked old. I didn't think he was a star. I mean, he looked like I used to visit my grandma at Century Village. He looked like one of the women who would tell me not to splash, water in her hair at the pool.
I think if you only go by Flair in the WWF, you missed it, because I do think he peaked before. I think everything that he brought, I thought that he was kept back. With the stupid name, the champion, and the Hogan matches weren't everything that they would have been 5 years before. So yeah, I could see that. You would see that, but if you go back and see the madness of what it was before, it was like if Ron White wrestled or something. There was like a real Southern rock thing there, and really legitimately funny shit that was edgy, and I wonder if they're going to get in trouble for that. Who else do you think should have made the list?
Dusty Rhodes should have been on the list.
That's also a generational thing.
Yeah, I think that this just goes by, you can tell exactly how old you are and how old they are by the guys that you would pick, and that's... It's almost like your favorite cartoons have to be delivered to you at a certain age.
The one that surprises me is, when they're talking funny, Foley.
Yeah, man, Foley belongs there.
Mick should be on there.
Like, if you're going to put DX and include all those guys, then why not just the Rock and Sock? I mean, it's their list, and there isn't one bad choice on there. It's not like, they have... trying to think. It's that sad thing to do, like, I don't want to burn any bridges.
Well, Fez, your next one should be with Mike Lawrence. You should do a column with Mike.
Yeah, we'll get
I'm going to give Crash Holly the love that he deserves.
Finally.
All right, we got to wrap this up. We've got the Unmasked coming up next, and that is with Rainn Wilson. His new TV show, what is it? Backstrom was on this week, where I never saw this before. The press release says he's a dick. The character is a dick. I don't know how it's going to go over with people, or why Rainn always plays dicks, and that's his whole deal, that he can never fit in. But the Unmasked is coming up next. That's an hour with Rainn Wilson. Mike, great to see you again.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. It's super fun.
We don't have to do this just for wrestling. We can do this for other...
I know.
I like to break the chain. But there's once I would like to say, Obama, what do you think is going on there, Mike?
Let me tell you something. I can't not look at you without imagining rubber bands coming down from your face.
That's next. That's it for us. Unmasked is coming up next. Fez, you got anything else you need to plug?
Just Mike Lawrence going to be at Foxwoods tomorrow night with John Oliver, Foxwoods.com, Warehouse Live in Houston on Sunday.
We'll be right back with Unmasked, Ron and Fez Show. Rainn Wilson.
Hi, everybody.
These are your people.
My people.
Yeah.
Welcome, people.
Well,
the Serious Fishbowl.
Yes, it is. But I think it's good to have them out here now, because after they see the character that you've invented in Backstrom, they may not like you anymore.
They may not want to get anywhere close to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because they always say a thing in TV, you want to have that comfortable character that America invites into their home and feels safe with, and you've got a really edgy, screwed up guy.
Yeah, he's a pretty despicable guy.
Yeah.
He's the worst, Backstrom. Yeah, it'll be interesting. You know, we're asking a lot of the audience. I mean, obviously there have been many shows with unlikable. He sees the very worst in everyone, and he really does not like people at all, and that would include himself.
Right.
You know, I think he hates himself worst of all. Worst of all.
Worst of all?
Yeah. Hey, I think you could call him sexist and racist, but it's not that he feels like men are better than women or whites are better than any other race. He is just an equal opportunity hater.
Yeah, he does. He hates, but it's at the same time you see a bunch of pain. He's carrying real pain, which is another thing to ask the audience, you know. Hey, watch this guy every week because he carries around some screwed up things that probably happened to him.
Watch a guy who's literally kind of falling apart in front of your eyes as he's brilliantly solving crimes. It's an interesting proposition.
Well, the thing is, it seems to me that he doesn't even know how he almost gets this stuff on his subconscious level. He picks it up because like you look at his Sherlock Holmes and he's going through this, but Backstrom does a thing pretty fast, almost like he's picking up vibes.
Yeah, it's intuitive. You know, his very dark worldview, seeing the worst in human beings and seeing the world through his kind of corroded, corrupt lens allows him to get into the skin of the criminal, of the murderer. And so it's a very interesting way to solve crimes, because you're right, it's not Sherlock. It's not putting these logical clues together. That stuff he almost gets wrong. He'll kind of here's this clue, and he's like, you did it. He's guilty. He's wrong a lot. And that's one thing I think is really cool, is like, does he always get his man? Yeah, but kind of sideways, you know, through the back alley entrance, and he makes a lot of wrong accusations as he goes. Which is very funny. You know, he jumps to conclusions, and he's just wrong-headed. But he also has those, like you said, he has got spidey senses.
Yeah, but because he has this ability, and he does this with people all the time, he'll go, "I am you," and then he starts to think like them, which I thought is the perfect metaphor for what an actor has to do all the time. You have to jump into that and follow their logic, you know, your character's logic.
Right. That's very well said. Yeah. So Backstrom does this thing where he says, "I'm you," and he looks into someone's eyes and he's like, you know, "I'm you. I'm a failed radio disc jockey who now's been demoted to doing a talk show with B-level celebrities."
Jesus Christ, I'm cracking.
He's, he looks into the soul of the person and figures them out. It's a really cool superpower, and that is exactly what an actor does. Very astute of you, and it's like, for me, it's like, I'm you. I'm an alcoholic police detective who lived through a lot of trauma as a youth, and hates the fact that there's criminals that think that they can outsmart me, and you go in that way and you try and use your intuition as well. You can't just do it cerebrally. You've got to do it on a cellular level. You got to kind of really grok in your guts what this person is going through, and that's your job as an actor. Hopefully, I did a decent job at it. We'll see what the American public think.
I also think it's great that the same guy playing this character also came up with Soul Pancake. So you've got both sides of this, because you would think you would want to come at people from, higher angels, but it's not always the best way to teach, is it?
Well, yeah. So it's an interesting dichotomy that spirituality is important to me. Making the world a better place is important to me. And Soul Pancake is a media company that I created with some friends to uplift people and unite them, create beautiful, meaningful, unifying content on the web.
Right.
And the web is such a divisive, corrosive place to be most of the time. Do I have a booger?
No. I would tell you right away.
It's radio, though.
Yeah, It's radio. It's basically the best job in the world for any kind of hygiene stuff. It's radio.
You haven't even taken a shower in a week, have you?
No, who needs to?
What were we talking? Yeah, but so I created Soul Pancake, but then I'm also playing a truly despicable, degraded character, and it's all part of I guess it would be more of the Hindu tradition of this idea of duality of like good and evil, light and dark. When you start to see past a duality and just see oneness through all of the material and the spiritual realm, and where there's not a good person and a bad person. There's just deeply flawed people on journeys, and that's who Backstrom is, and that's really what the story is. One of the great things, Hart Hansen, the creator of Backstrom, he also created the TV show Bones. Really brilliant guy. Loved collaborating with him. But he's mapped out a terrific arc for Backstrom. That's one of the things we're asking for an audience, is like, go on this journey with this guy. Watch a couple of episodes. Watch 2, 3, 4. You'll get hooked. You'll start to understand and see where we're going. Yeah, at first glance, he's just an asshole, but you start to meet his family. You see how he got that way, why he sees the world in that particular way, and he goes on a journey through the first 13 episodes that is really interesting, and he's in a very different place in episode 13 than he was in episode 1.
That's funny, because I saw the first 3 episodes, and he doesn't seem to be on a search yet. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, there's a lot of guys that are in a bad spot, but they're like, how do I get out of this? But he's almost feel like he's found the answer. He's in life is shit, and you can't get out of it.
Yeah, and that slowly changes. Things start to crack and things start to fall apart. It's a coping mechanism that Backstrom has that just starts to no longer work for him.
Yeah. And it's so true of a lot of people. There's plenty of people, particularly with alcohol and drugs, that get written off and come back incredibly strong.
Yeah, and it is, alcohol and drugs is a coping mechanism to get people by, and it can work. It can work for some people for decades,
right?
You know, as a defense against having feelings or growing up, or change, or making oneself vulnerable, or in a human interaction, and then all of a sudden it can't sustain through your whole life.
Right.
It starts to fall apart, and as they say, you got to hit bottom before you build yourself back up again.
But it really does work until it doesn't work anymore. That's for years you're like, this makes me a really fun, interesting person.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then one day you're just like, how come that's not working anymore?
Yep.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Oh shit, it's even worse. But that's that kind of journey work.
Remember that old VH1 show Behind the Music?
Yeah.
Every single episode of Behind the Music was that story told over and over again.
Everything when you get everything that you physically want in the world, you will hit the bottom. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And there was always, the great thing about that story was they always had a third act, no matter what happened. And then Aerosmith decided, and they went on and they came back. But it was the same story. But that is, storytelling. When you really think about it, there are only so many probably human stories.
Sure.
I
never thought about that, and that is the classic 3-arc structure. It's the band hitting the top, right, and then hitting the bottom, and then a transformation from crisis to victory into a transformation into a third act or a third chapter. That's oftentimes surprising.
Really, it's like if Joseph Campbell put together a rock lifetime,
right?
You would have to go through each stage. But we are kind of drugged, kicking and screaming through each stage of our life, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Like, we understand that birth is really hard, but rebirth is pretty difficult as well.
It is, yeah. And then if you think about, and this is going to be some really deep shit.
Yeah.
And then the ultimate rebirth and death.
Yeah.
And whatever that rebirth is, will be a very interesting transition for all of us to make.
How often do you think about death? Is this something that's on your mind?
Yeah, I think about death a lot. I think that you have to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a question most of us like to put in a shoebox in the very back of the closet.
Right, yeah.
But it's part of the human experience, and I personally believe that we're not just a random assortment of molecules that have been assembled to have consciousness, and that when our bodies are dead, that our consciousness goes out like a light bulb and there's no more of us. I don't believe that to be true. In fact, I know that to not be true. I can't prove it in any way. I wish I could.
This would have really been big.
I know. I wish there was a laboratory where we could conduct that experiment, or a big chalkboard where I could show you my formula. But yeah, it's so I think about it. I guess you just want to make the most, whether you believe in God or a soul or not. I do think that, I always look for the things that, what can atheists and agnostics and people of faith agree on? And, you can agree on, like, let's make the best possible self in this world.
Sure.
And let's do the maximum service to the world that we can, and uplift people and empower them, make the world a better place. Everyone can get with that. So let's leave all that other debate behind and just focus on doing that. And if you're not really actively working on making the world a better place, then just shut the... Can I say that?
Yes,
it's serious, right?
Yeah.
This is a Howard Stern.
Yes.
He built this station,
yes,
right?
Yes, he did.
So,
He built it all, and he gave us the freedom to say whatever we want.
Right.
Yeah.
So people that aren't doing that, atheist or theist, just need to shut the fuck up.
Oh, not that one. I say that. Oh, I didn't know that's where you were going.
Oh, I can't say theist?
No.
Because people don't know what that means. Just kidding.
Well, I think about this though. That without death, I don't think we would do anything. You know what I mean? I'm sure people would really push things off.
You're an old dude.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where I actually, and this happened. Well, I wouldn't even get into why, but an acceptance happened for me in the last decade, which has made everything better. Before that, I think I was much more concerned.
Yeah, it's funny. It's interesting because part of playing Backstrom is terrified of death, and I think people that are not at peace with themselves or with the world are terrified of death. And of course, as soon as you embrace death, then all of a sudden you can embrace life,
right,
in a deeper way.
Exactly.
Like the Native American idea of like, today is a good day to die. That the Braves would go out just with that complete peace and serenity about death being a part of life. But so doing Backstrom, here I am playing this guy terrified of death, and then I just kind of unwittingly gained all this weight. Because the fatter the dude is, you would have made a great Backstrom. Sorry. No offense. I'm kidding. I love you. I don't even know you. I love you. I mean it with all respect. But the fatter the guy is, the better it is for the character, because he's so self-destructive and he's an overeater and everything like that. And then, so I started putting on all this weight. I gained about 15 pounds over the course of shooting, because I just have I'll have that extra piece of pizza. I'll eat that extra piece of bacon. I'll have the fries instead of the salad. All those little choices that add up day in and day out. So I'll have that extra milkshakes. I was drinking milkshakes. It's ridiculous. Milkshakes. Just start with that. Yeah. Here's my diet plan. Start with that. No milkshakes. How's that? America. So I gained all this weight, and it's interesting. So I gained all this weight, and I went to see my doctor, and I got a big blood test and stuff like that. And it's like, and my triglycerides are up, and my, what is it called in your blood that's bad? Cholesterol. And he's like, listen, you got to lose 20 pounds and the exercise, and this is dangerous, at risk for a heart attack and stuff like that. Here I am. Because Backstrom deals with those issues. Here's life mirroring art. Here's Rain dealing with those issues. I just turned 49 yesterday. Thank you. Which was great. It was my birthday. Of course, my mom texted me and said, "Happy 50th birthday."
Well, you're in your 50th year.
Does it really work that way?
Yeah. Your 50th year starts on your 49th birthday.
I have to do that math. But anyways, here I am dealing with almost 50, at risk for a heart attack. I'm like, I'm in a completely other generation. I'm in a different generation. This is crazy. How am I going to deal with this? So it starts to feel more and more real as the decades tick by, right? Isn't that sad? Am I depressing everyone?
Yeah, but the weird thing is,
let's talk about Jim and Pam in The Office and and comedy. And
yeah, because you've never had the opportunity to talk about that very much. What it's like to be in the office.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, you don't run into a lot of people who are like 80 and 85 and they're terrified. You know what I mean? Like, my folks are in their 80s. My dad's always like, I don't know, maybe I got another year or two in me. You know what I mean? He's just very comfortable with it. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't want to die, but he doesn't sit around thinking, you know, counting days. And I think that's, again, that transformation that people make, where you're like, okay, this is me. You know, this is life.
And you want to be able to look back and be like, you know, I gave it my best shot. I achieved my best possible self.
Yeah.
You know, which is kind of an impossible task, but because you don't really know what that is, but you strive for it.
And that's when you kind of become, I think, as you get older, that you find your failures a little more okay, or see what they led to. But when you're in your 20s and you have failures, you really take them personal. You're really freaked out by them. But I always think it's great, too, as people get older, they'll tell you all the shitty jobs that they've ever had. Yeah. And they love to list those off, you know, because it becomes, those scars make you interesting, you know? Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
I win the shitty jobs list, by the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I guess that's one of the things that if you commit to acting, you're going to end up taking a lot of bad jobs outside and inside of acting.
Unless you have a trust fund, absolutely. Yeah.
And you were a New York guy for a while, right?
Yeah, so I moved here. Grew up in Seattle, but I moved to New York. Go Hawks. I moved to New York in '86 and went to acting school at NYU, and stayed in New York after that for another 9 years, doing nothing but theater, no TV or film, and just living at the poverty line.
Right.
So it was some rough going, but my wife and I we went through that together, and that was a great experience to go through.
Well, it's certainly a great experience when you know you come out the other side, but there's a lot of fear, I imagine, during that time.
There's a lot of fear, and I almost bailed on show business so many different times, and thought, well, I'll just go teach at some college in Oregon or something like that, and we came very close to making those decisions. We almost moved away to just not pursue the dream many, many different times. But it was, for me, I was very fortunate in my life. It's you never know as an artist, like, is this a realistic path am I taking, or am I completely fucking delusional? And I always got just that next job was always just a little bit better, or the next agent I got was just a little bit better. And so there were always just this, oh yeah, I'll keep going down that path. I'll keep following the next breadcrumb. The universe seems to be taking me down this path towards acting and maybe doing some TV or film or something like that. So I was very fortunate to have that happen, and I kept going, and it worked out for me.
And of course, if you go at it from an artistic level instead of just like for the fame and all that kind of stuff, I think it puts you in a better place of what am I doing? What is the night tonight? When you get to do theater, you've at least created this place for this night.
You will shoot yourself in my business if you are going for fame.
Yeah.
It will drive you batty, and you will literally kill yourself and end your life, and it's horrible. So you do have to really strive, I think, as any artist, to like, I want to make great art. I want to be the very best artist that I can be. I want to help other people with my art. That doesn't mean that it needs to be sentimental, syrupy, treacly. Helping other people can be making them laugh, entertaining them. And it's a weird thing, because art, especially acting, is all about the ego, but you have this battle with your ego and strive to set it aside to move forward. And I think you got to go in that direction to have it. And then you got to have a lot of luck along the way. So I just was really lucky. There's so many people as talented as I was who just didn't land the role of Dwight on The Office and didn't have, their careers take off. I'm very lucky.
But you loved it when you were a kid. You loved whatever little jobs you could get, any theater jobs. You knew you were in the right place, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was, I was just for me, suburban kid in Seattle, I didn't know any professional artists. I didn't know people who like got paid to do art. And it took me years to wrap my head around that. I remember talking to my drama teacher in high school, like wait, so there are actors, and I mean, I knew about movie stars and people on TV, but that was so foreign to me. I'd never met any of them before. I was like, there are actors, and they get paid to do acting, and you can make a living. And she was like, yeah, there's here. I went to high school in Chicago. They're like, here in Chicago, there's, hundreds of actors who do sketch and do theater and do voiceovers and this and that. And I was just like, whoa, it just blew my mind. I didn't know such a thing was possible. So my entire goal always was like, make a living. Can I not wait tables? Can I not do that list of shitty jobs and just make it as an actor? And, and I always thought it would be in the theater. I never dreamed about, TV and film and stuff like that. So for me, this is all gravy. It's great. I get to make a living at what I love. I'm so fucking lucky.
But you also put creativity and spirituality in the same place, which I think is amazing that it's not talked about more. I've had the chance to talk to so many songwriters, maybe the greatest songwriters of the last 50 years. And I haven't met one who kind of takes credit for the song. They feel like they're there when the good songs show up, and it's always amazing to me that they're just like, I don't know, there it was that day. That's amazing. It just came through, and I've heard it, and they all use different metaphors, whether it's water or a radio signal, whatever. But it's the same thing.
It's the muse, right?
Yeah, it's the muse,
the universe,
and it's being a vessel. And again, that goes back
Hart
to
Hansen, the creator of Backstrom and of Bones, who is a devout atheist with a smattering of agnostic, is like, my deal with the universe is I just sit down to write, and I start working, and I start typing, and my fingers start moving, and I really let the universe do the rest.
Right.
He has a kind of a mystical experience, and he's the first to admit it. He's not really an artist. He's churning out scripts.
Right.
But he has that same sensation.
At least on some days, what I mean? Like at least that. But
and other days you just got to slog it out and put down a bunch of crappy sentences.
And I think that's the important thing, that most of these people learn the craft. You have to understand the craft of how to get, the muse to show for you. But when you know what you're doing and that great thing shows up, then you can go. I always think of it as surfing, that you can't catch a giant wave your first day. But if you've worked and worked and worked at it, when that wave shows up, you're the guy who can
ride it.
Yeah.
When you talked about that meshing of spirituality and creativity, I think that it is, the word spirituality I hate that word. I hate it. Because people either think you're talking about born again, like some kind of religion, like it's got to be religious, and usually like very like puritanical religious, or it's kind of this airy fairy new agey kind of gooey like spirituality, and it's like a very vague and thing, and both of those, and that's what we try to tackle with Soul Pancake, is deal with spirituality on a really practical level. What does it mean? It's like, well, it's anything that's just not material. It's anything that's not just your body. It's love, and it's emotions, and it's art, and it's creativity, and it's your philosophy of how you're going to be in the world, and all of those things. That's what spirituality is. But I also think that creativity and being an artist is the same expression. It's the expression to attempt to transcend our pathetic, miserable lives where we shit and we eat and we fart and we poop and we have eye boogers and difficulties and we're tired in the morning and all of that stuff. But whatever we do to try and transcend, that's spirituality. So whether it's creating something beautiful or creating something meaningful or something entertaining, or whether it's seeking to connect with a creator or even just connect with nature or connect with your loved ones and experience love on some deeper level, that it's all that beautiful ancient human longing and yearning to transcend our experience. So art and spirituality really are an expression of the same universal human impulse.
Yeah.
Applause.
Yeah, no. That's almost like a Zen master can force the room what to do. It's Obi-Wan shit, and they applaud. But you know, you brought up the Seahawks, and that we could sit and watch a football game without realizing that these people are doing those exact things that we're talking about. They're attempting to slow down time. They're attempting to see things before they happen. We know this, and then we push it away, Everybody is going to a concert before where something has happened in the room that brought us all to a place that, we might call church, or we might call whatever, and we felt it for a while, and it came back down, and you go, well, that was cool, right? And then you push it away. I think we're afraid to hold on to those things that you're talking about.
That's very beautifully said. I know that for me, some of the most rapturously spiritual experiences I've ever had have been at concerts.
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple of times seeing Radiohead, I was just like on another plane of existence. And you can say, materialist worldview would just be like, well, those are synapses in your head getting audio waves that hit on your eardrum and processing, and you get dopamine released. And okay, that's fine. That's how it works on a physical plane, but I think it's also something more.
And it's something that we've always been after. Like when we were dancing around the fire,
telling stories.
Telling stories.
Those earliest human records of people putting their handprint on a wall and tracing over them and drawing buffalo and stuff like that, and telling stories, flickering in the flames. You picture those cave paintings were all illumined by flickering flames.
Yeah. And Neil deGrasse Tyson's show, which I think he's pretty upfront about being an atheist, or at least an agnostic. You can watch that show, and if you're not spiritually moved on some level, looking at the universe and knowing that you're part of that universe.
Again, what can we all agree on? An atheist and a theist can look at the majesty and beauty of science and of the universe and marvel at it and seek to understand it, and never lose your sense of wonder.
Right.
Never lose your sense of gratitude for what you've been given, no matter what your belief system. There's things we can share and we can work on together.
That's a really great one. I think that if we could just agree to gratitude, service, and wonder,
there you go.
The God thing will work.
Gratitude, service, and wonder, and just we'll forget about God for the time being.
Yeah.
I think that God created gratitude, service, and wonder, as well as science and milkshakes. But that's cool.
Yeah.
And again, if you're not doing something to make the world a better place, then shut the fuck up.
Right.
I'm speaking to all those online trolls on the, who do the comments and stuff like that and are living in their parents' basements, just not, just naysaying. You know what I mean?
Sure, but you know enough from even putting together Backstrom what they hope to get out of that naysaying. You know that is probably on their way to first step work. You know what I mean? You have to find your anger bottom, I think, just like with alcohol, before you can push off the bottom. Do I want to be a shitty person forever?
Right. They have their own struggles. We have, how can we have compassion for the internet troll? The lowest form of human existence. The Buddha would struggle with that one. You could have Siddhartha Gautama the Buddha on this show and be like, Master Buddha, you've arrived. What do we do about internet trolls? And he'd be like, oh, they're the worst.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know what that Buddha accent was. I was trying not to be offensive because it's an ancient Sanskrit and Nepalese accent, so it's not, I wasn't trying to be racist.
But these are, and it's a really good point. That's the toughest. If you could start at that toughest place and go, how did that person get there? What do they hope to gain from that?
Yeah.
What is going on with Pocky 712? Why is he so shitty right now? But that is, I guess, the work of this whole thing. no matter where you're working, it's trying to get through all this kind of stuff.
Let's add something to our list.
Yeah.
What's on our list so far?
Well, we got wonder, we got service, and we got gratitude.
So compassion.
Compassion, yeah.
Whether you believe in God or not. Compassion for Pocky 172.
Yeah.
Compassion for Donald Trump.
Right.
Compassion for the poorest, most starving person in the middle of the Congo. We can add that to the list.
Well, because
we're all in a human experience, and it was just a genetic accident that I happened to be born into a fairly decent, albeit dysfunctional family in suburban Seattle instead of being born, an Eskimo or someone in Tierra del Fuego or, someone or a farmer in Haiti.
Well, you hit the lottery, which is the white American penis. When you when you get the white American penis, it's almost like being drafted by the Yankees. You know what I mean? It's like
I don't have a penis.
Oh, all right. So finally, here's the breakthrough we were looking for. This will go viral now.
Yeah.
But it is true that all of us sitting here and probably the people listening are the luckiest people.
Yeah.
On the planet.
You could afford Sirius Radio.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them steal it. So
how do you steal it?
Well, these ladies know right away.
You know how to steal it?
Where do you
Let's tell them.
Oh, she gets yours, and then they upload it other places.
Okay.
And, yeah.
All right.
One thing.
It's like someone using their parents' Netflix account or something.
But the one thing the internet agrees to is content should be free. Whether it's music, film, radio, they don't care. They want it for free.
And that's terrible.
Yeah. That changed everything.
It's terrible, that idea. I know so many arrived people, really thoughtful people, just think nothing about copying, burning, downloading for free, streaming, BitTorrenting pieces of art. And it's like, man, you see how hard people work on this stuff?
Sure.
And how hard it is to I worked on this indie film called Hesher with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Natalie Portman. And man, we worked so hard on that. It was so low budget and we had long hours and it was a struggle. And it's a really decent and interesting movie that's all about this stuff that we're talking about, life and death and God and gratitude. And it's just a freaking cool movie. And then no one saw it. And then it's like, it's on YouTube. And like someone just uploaded it to YouTube. It's just sitting there on YouTube, getting people watching it for free, like, whatever. And it's not one of those paid YouTube things. Someone had and I saw it and told the producers about it, and it's heartbreaking, man. You have no idea how hard we worked on that. And the producers risked money on it, and they put up this money. And if no one goes sees it and it loses money, then producers who are trying to make interesting content, they'll be out money and they won't have money to put on new projects, and less good projects will be made. So you're really making the world a worse place by doing it. I hate that.
Yeah, and it happens across the board. I mean, the record company. There's very few people, artists that I've ever met that haven't come in here and said that computer changed everything. Guys that used to, a lot of guys who would write novels would get paid decent money from Rolling Stone or Esquire to keep them going, waiting for the novel. Those kind of gigs are gone. Bands obviously don't get the kind of money they had before because everybody demands. Everybody just takes. It's strange how much entertainment Americans demand.
They demand it, and you would never go steal a bicycle, but you'd think nothing about burning a movie or downloading it for free. And I don't get it, but whatever.
I always wondered though how many people would actually sneak into the concert if the door was left open or there was a hole in the fence. I think you start to see how many people would think to themselves, "Oh, I'll take advantage of that." And the internet is the first chance to kind of show that.
There's a psychologist, famous one named Lawrence Kohlberg, who has this series of moral it's moral education, moral psychology. So there's this the first thing you do as a kid is you don't do something because you might get in trouble. You know what I mean? So that's what stops you. And then the next one is like, you don't do something because that's what other people don't do it. And then the next one is you don't do something because you feel guilt about it. And the next one is like, so there's this, hierarchy of morals. Right. And it's interesting because we're so materially advanced as a culture. But I think you're right. It really has to do with like taking a step back and going like, okay, the choices I make, and I have made so many wrong choices in my life. Oh my God, you have no idea. But you make these choices and you don't think about the consequences of your actions. And we have to kind of rise to a higher moral level and like do the right thing. Again, this isn't about religion or spirituality, or this is ethics, really, and just creating a just society of like, you gotta just do the right thing with your choices. And you're gonna make mistakes, but, struggle with this stuff, debate this stuff, and I don't know.
Debate this stuff, I think, is the most interesting thing, because I think most conversations that end with a question are still the best conversations.
Sure.
And you're doing that on the internet where you're putting out these things.
Life's big questions.
Yeah, life's big questions.
Soul Pancake doesn't have any answers whatsoever. Soul Pancake just wants to raise big issues and big questions in an uplifting, inspiring way.
Right. But most of us got introduced to religion at an early age. This is a sin, do this and you'll burn, or do this and Jesus Christ, or whatever it has to be. We don't even give the children the big questions to enjoy big questions from an early age.
Yeah. We give them answers way too young.
Right.
And a lot of really negative answers.
Well, we give them those answers so that when they hit the first stage of reason, they go, wait a minute. They were bullshitting about everything. You know? And I remember doing that. I'm like, well, if there's no Santa Claus, there can't be a Jesus. And if pot isn't bad, I might as well do acid next week. You know what I mean? Like, I just went through this thing in my early teens of just casting away everything way long before I should have taken any of that, all because I had that feeling like in the Truman Show, you know what I mean, at the end of the Truman Show, where this is all bullshit.
We're all on a journey to find the truth for ourselves.
Right.
We're very good at that in America. I mean, I think that's a positive thing about the United States. Is like, people are like, damn it, I'm going to find the truth for myself. I'm going to find my own way in the world. Maybe too extreme, too far an extreme, but that's what we got to do. Everyone has to find the truth for themselves.
And the hard knocks that come along with it. That's all part of the truth.
Sure.
You, at a kind of early age, you found it all through acting, right? I mean, for you, that was almost your first spiritual quest. You thought you could find truth on the stage.
Well, I had, I had an interesting experience. I grew up a member of the Baha'i faith. My parents were Baha'is. I was raised as a Baha'i. I won't really get into it right now. You can Google it. Just don't look it up on Wikipedia, because that's just that's a cop out. But I grew up in a spiritual household, and then really, when I moved to New York City, really rebelled against it and didn't want anything to do with spirituality, religion. Just considered myself an atheist, and I just wanted to live my own bohemian dream in New York City, being an actor, and I did, and it was pretty awesome. But basically, for me, what I think happened is I made theater and art my religion, in a way. Like, we had these fierce debates about doing the right play to the right group of people in the right theater at the right time, and like, we could change the world, if we do the right Bertolt Brecht play to the right 27 people in a church basement, and this, that impassioned kind of preposterous, pretentious idea about art. So that I became a born again artist, really.
And how long did that hold up for you?
It held up for years, and was really fun. Those were some great times, but it wears a little thin when you kind of are like, basically it came down to this. Like, I was living my dream. I was living beyond my dream. I was actually making a living as an actor, although I was at the poverty line. I had to work a lot of other jobs at the same time. But I was making a living as an actor, and I was working with great directors doing really cool plays, but I was unhappy. Just bottom line, I'm like, there's got to be more. I had a deep dissatisfaction going on in my heart and soul, and that's when I came back to the idea of spirituality or religion or whatever, and just kind of went on a journey to try and uncover, see if there was other truth out there. Is there a greater truth? Do we each have our truth, or is there some kind of universal truth? I'm just babbling now.
No.
Should we talk about Jim and Pam?
Jim and Pam, that third season. You do, I guess, talk about The Office a lot because it's so beloved, right? I mean,
yeah, it is. It's beloved, and it will be. There's people that still come up to me and like kind of take me by the arm inappropriately, and are like, you don't understand. I still watch The Office. I watch 3 episodes every day.
Yeah.
And I have for the last 7 years of my life. It's great. It's really, people that are Office fans are deep Office fans. They're like Trekkies.
Well, there's certain shows, The Office, Seinfeld, probably Friends, where people at bad points of their life can use these shows almost comforting. It's almost a social interaction because it's 7 o'clock at night right after dinner, 11 o'clock at night when, they might need it, so there are times that there's certain shows that just work for people,
I think that has been like, the most satisfying thing that of my life, besides my family and my wife and son, is when people come up to me and they talk about The Office and what an impact it had on their lives when they were going through a really hard time.
Right.
When you hear these incredible stories of like, my sister was dying of cancer, so we would sit around every night and we'd watch The Office and we'd laugh together, and just these heartbreaking stories and uplifting stories too, Dads, so many dads have come up and been like, thank you for The Office. It's the only time of the week where I can sit down on the couch with my teenage kids and we can all share an appreciation for one thing and not be fighting and not disagreeing. It brings our family together, and just being a part of that is just super cool.
But it's strange, from an artistic idea. Obviously, that's not the intention. You don't sit down and go, let's come up with a TV show that brings families together and makes people be able to battle back against cancer. You know what I mean? Like you can't do that. So how does it happen? How does something like that work?
I would say that's more of a question for the writer-creators of a TV show, like Greg Daniels on The Office and Paul Lieberstein, who took over the show after he left. But yeah, they would be the first to say, no, that's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to make something funny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we want to make it real and relatable and have some heart and make it really super, super specific.
Mm-hmm.
Someone was just telling a story the other day about The Office, about how, they wanted to have there was something, episode of the Businessman's Lunch, and Greg sent everyone out to go observe businessmen at lunch.
Right.
Yeah. And people found that businessmen at lunch flip their ties over their shoulders and tuck their ties into their shirts, but they deal with the tie. They don't want to get a stain on their silk ties. And so we incorporated that into The Office, but those kind of minutia, they add up, and that for an audience to make it feel so much more real and more relatable. But that's what the artist, I think, strives for specificity, and in specificity kind of reverberates universality.
Right. Well, Dwight was a great character. As one of the few, Jeffrey Tambor did this on Larry Sanders too, a guy who you don't want to see win or lose. You know what I mean? That he handles both of them. Both of them will emotionally affect you. Every win he screws up and every loss is kind of heartbreaking because you see how vulnerable he actually is.
I've never heard that before, but that's really great. I'm going to steal it.
Sure.
Yeah, you don't.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt to credit me, but okay. If you need to steal it, take it.
I love that. You don't want to see him win because he's an asshole.
Right.
And he would just, like when he became branch manager and then he shot a gun and put in heightened security and had a ninja swords and painted his office black. Like, you don't want to see him become the manager.
Right.
But at the same time, you don't want to see him get fired or something. You care about him at the same time. That's an interesting. I like playing unlikable characters. I like playing characters that are challenging, and that was part of Dwight. Is like, early on, people were like, "Oh, he's so despicable," but he's part of the ensemble, and then, 10 episodes in or a season or two in, they're just, I love Dwight. I want to see what happens with him, and I care about him as you get to know this stuff, and hopefully we can do the same thing with Backstrom. It's a little trickier because he's the lead guy. Yeah. But we'll see what happens.
Well, to go back to that Backstrom is everything that we were talking about earlier, too, is that if you take somebody who's really unhappy, they probably weren't born that way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if we're going to be human beings and caring human beings, and you figure out how he got that way, you want him to get out of it. You want him to grow.
Deeper understanding creates that deeper compassion we were talking about.
Yeah. With your film career, have you had the kind of choices that you want with your film career, or is that something that's always rough?
Yeah, film career's been rough for me because all my movies bombed. So then it's kind of a weird thing where they're just like, oh, yeah, we don't really want that guy in our movies. And that used to really bug me and had caused me a lot of pain in my life because, you work so hard on these movies and you want people to like them. And then, like The Rocker was one of the biggest box office bombs in Hollywood history. And America firmly united in saying, we do not want to see Rainn Wilson in a Speedo, in a comedy as a lead in a movie. So America has spoken. But, it's been rough, but there's, a lot of movies that are labor of love, and they become like The Rocker is really beloved by a lot of people. Sure. It's a good little movie, and Super, another movie that I made 3 or 4 years ago, was a terrific film, and people are discovering these movies and they live on,
Well, Super is one of those films, and very few films, I think, are able to pull this off. But that film shows violence for exactly what it is. You know what I mean? So you could watch so many films and see violence and think that that's cool. But when Super makes it look like you saw a violent act take place right in front of you. Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I don't want to be around that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very well said. It's what's the reality of a superhero? What is it to be a hero versus a deranged, violent vigilante? What's that line between Spider-Man and Bernard Getz shooting someone on a subway, and ending up in an institution you know what I mean?
It's true.
We see that hero George Zimmerman, that the poster boy for the NRA and gun rights and self-defense championed all across Foxland, my new employer. What a piece of work he is, Fantastic.
That is true. We would probably put up with Batman for about 24 hours before we locked his ass up. Yeah. And it would happen quick. You brought up the Fox thing, that you work for Fox, but I guess you're not a big Fox News aficionado.
Yeah, I try and stay out of politics in general. I think the system is so broken. I think the idea that there's going to be some Democrat or some Republican that can fix everything and make the world better is preposterous. We have a broken, corrupt system that needs to seriously change. I don't know exactly how, but I try and stay out of that. But yeah, there's Fox is strange. You're working for. Fox has a lot of great stuff too, and they have some great entertainment, and I like them, but they're just definitely. It's a little weird with the big boss Rupert Murdoch being like the face of kind of violent conservatism. But although he does believe in global warming, so I'll give him that, and I'll look on the bright side.
Well, what you normally find out about most corporations is they really just want to make money. Yeah. And they don't care whether it's Bill O'Reilly or The Simpsons. If it makes money, they want it.
Yes.
So it's really...
And it's so funny because the right wing will condemn Hollywood. They're like, Hollywood this and Hollywood values and Hollywood blah, blah, blah. And yet they're always so pro-business. Like, we want business, and businesses should be making money, and America should be making money, and this is about making money. But then when Hollywood tries to make money, they're condemned. Hollywood is very good at figuring out what people want to watch, making those things, and then making oodles and oodles of money.
Right.
Sometimes it can be really positive, uplifting content, like a movie like The Help. That's a really terrific movie that reaches a mass audience and is about something good. And sometimes it's crap. Sometimes it's just, the real world, reality show or whatever. But whatever it is to make money, if Hollywood tries to make a lot of really good and interesting content that people stay away from.
Sure.
And so, you've got to look at the market.
Well,
it's a market-driven business.
It really is. Like, if there was a TV show where a guy was just banging pans together and it got a huge share, there'd be 5 shows the next week.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even judge it. They'd be like, let's get some pans, let's get a dude in there, bang them pans, and let's get those money.
To me, that is Celebrity Apprentice.
Yeah.
It is. It is. But it's all those Shark Tank, all those reality shows.
Sure.
They just give me a headache. It's like, may as well be. I would rather watch a guy banging pans.
What if they came to you and said, because I know the YouTube thing is so big with Soul Pancake, what if they give you a network show or something along those lines? Doing the kind of stuff that you guys like to do, would you be open for it, or,
Banging pans? Or
banging pans, talking the big questions, all that kind of stuff.
I'll do anything for a check, bro.
Yeah, is that it?
No, I don't know. I'm open to everything.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
The show is Backstrom is. I'm telling you, it's a tough character. It's a strange character, but Rain tells us he's going on a journey with it, and it should be interesting. This was interesting too, my friend.
This was a great conversation.
I really enjoyed it.
Thank
man.
you, audience, for coming along with us. Really appreciate it.
Really, really great. Thank you so much, my friend.
Great meeting you. Thank you.
See you next time. Very well, everybody. Let me,
You know what you've been doing? You've been listening to the Ron and Fez Show. It's now over, but don't worry, you can listen again and again on Sirius XM On Demand.